We can start off on a Monday morning by saying, yes, congratulations to Spain. They did it, and they did it not just for 1, 2, or 3, but I could say a multitude of persons. The reason? I've been seeing reactions, and everyone seems to be very happy and excited that the Spanish side, known to be the best footballing nation at the just concluded World Cup, proved once again that football, it's played by not just men, but of course, talented men who play together. On that note, I'm going to say good morning. Welcome to the Monday morning edition of Breakfast Central. My name is Joe Hansen, and joining me this morning definitely is the gang. But let me start off with the one and the only, the man who's spotted on a pink shirt on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
I wonder who
and also the red tie representing and the red pocket square representing.
By the way, I was going to wear a tie, Benga, this
Yes,
morning. Let me just state it here clearly so my viewers know. I love wearing ties, but on a Monday morning, I don't know what happened. I think I celebrated so much. I had a little sore on my throat. Besides that, I don't know if that made my neck and I don't understand.
Sometimes it's okay to switch things up. You know, it's a business Monday, but you're taking things nice and easy. And it did really rain over the weekend. Maybe scattered showers here and there, but no incidents of flooding, thankfully. But it's great to be back. Hope you had a restful weekend. And like Joe started, history was made last night as Spain defeated Argentina. I mean, it was the most one-sided final in 60 years. How do you have 20 shots at goal to 2? It was almost like a training game, and Spain dominated and deservedly won that contest. So many people. It was also political. Many people supported Spain because for one reason or the other, and others supported Argentina. But at the end of the day, the best team won, even though FIFA, they tried to do their...
Why are you calling them FIFA? Man?
They tried to do... I mean, Spain scored a legitimate goal and it was chalked up for no reason. So why do you do that? And then the yellow card, some of the calls were dubious. And I mean, since I've always loved football growing up, and this World Cup really exposed the corruption in the game. I think Infantino and the guys at FIFA need to really do something, because when people start doubting calls and the genuineness of the fairness of the game, it does a lot of reputational damage to it, and I wouldn't want to believe in football again. And of course, Nigeria, the first half show ever in the World Cup finals.
They kind of like the American style.
The Americanization of football. Yes, they want to turn football to soccer, but we don't agree. Anyway, from the Nigeria was also represented by Burna Boy, so we're at the finals, yes.
But then again, it's good money. We could talk about the marketing aspects, especially for the halftime show. The halftime show, the water breaks, the hydration
it's not
breaks.
Super Bowl.
Kind of like reminds you of course, the American football and other sports. But then again, for water breaks, FIFA did introduce, everybody knew that it was about
for commercial reasons,
marketing, commercial purposes. And the water break proved to do just that. And the President, Donald Trump, not wanting to leave the stage for the Spanish team to celebrate.
Why is he such an attention narcissist?
But Olive is here. Olive, good morning. Were you celebrating for Spain, or you were angry and sad that Lionel Messi didn't get the World Cup this time? Twice for Spain, I must mention.
Well, there's a little part of me that wanted Messi to win.
Go for me.
That wanted Argentina to win.
Go for me.
That wanted Argentina to win because of Messi. I could see yesterday, I saw, I was watching it with friends, and a couple, both of them were on either divide. The husband was supporting Spain, the wife was supporting Argentina. And you should see when Spain scored that goal at the 105th minute, and how the husband was like, yes! Finally! I was like, oh, great. And the wife was like, oh, no. So I wonder what it is like in your homes. Were you all on the same team? Were you on different sides of the divide? But congratulations to the winners, the ones who have claimed the 2026 FIFA World Cup. My name is Olive Emodi, and if you're just watching Breakfast Central for the very first time, this is the show where we take you around the country for 3 hours, bringing top political conversations that affect our economy, as well as our social political lifestyle. But we don't just talk. we listen to you as well. So your views on YouTube matter. We want you to, we're streaming live on News Central TV, live on YouTube. We'll go there to take comments. And we also open the phone lines during the newspaper front pages to take phone calls to hear directly from you. So thank you very much for joining us for the next 3 hours. Let's now tell you that history, of course, was made last night. I do believe that we have clips to show you about this tense final where Spain's disciplined defense and decisive.
Very good sportsman. He was trying to get Cucurella sent off.
Yeah, I saw that.
For covering his mouth and speaking to him. Yeah. You know? And then it just shows the way Argentina was dominated in that final showed that they didn't even deserve to be in that World Cup final in the first place. There was, one dubious call or the other. How do you play such a one-sided final? If they were deserving to be in the finals, it would be a proper context, not this one-sided thing. We saw it was almost like a training game for Spain at some point.
See, look at this. Look at this.
And then the barbarity of this being so losers.
Hooliganism.
You can't even be magnanimous in defeat.
Look at that.
Joe, which side were you on, actually?
Look at that. Which what?
You're obviously in support of this.
Of course.
I was a Spaniard
the
yesterday.
whole of humanity.
To be honest.
President Pedro Sanchez of Spain, God bless you, wherever you are in Madrid this morning, watching us. Your country, humanity is so proud of the country. Spain, Donald Trump doesn't like Spain. You know, he's been calling out Spain, he's been threatening tariffs because Spain has been speaking for the Palestinian cause, that's saying no to genocide. Lamine Yamal, when Barcelona won the league, raised a Palestinian flag. And the war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court, is supporting Argentina. Of course, the rest of humanity would not want to support the same side with people that are committing genocide. That's why it was more than a game yesterday. It was politics and humanity won. And the good people of the world won yesterday against all Argentina's theoretics and, underhand methods of trying to rig the game. But as they say on the street, God passed them. So it's a very beautiful morning. Morning for the world.
You know, some experts who don't want to agree with you. They will be like, no, that was a game of, might, power, and strength, and you name it. But whether you like it or not, I must mention that the Spanish side yesterday showed us something that we've not seen in a while. And what they showed to us pretty much was that football can be played professionally and can be done well.
Yes, without cheating.
We saw a Spanish side.
It was openly, he's been cursing Spain.
Yeah, of course.
He said it's a tough one, but I mean, I really, but you can bet against mercy. I like mercy, you know.
Well, unfortunately.
And again, the Argentines, the conduct of their fans in this World Cup, I should speed, telling them to go to the zoo. They've been making racist chants. I mean, if you're a black person and you have any sense of dignity, you shouldn't be supporting Argentina.
Is this officially Messi's last World Cup?
Yes, it is. He retired yesterday at the press briefing. He said,
all right, I didn't wait to that.
Last with teary eyes. I mean,
you should play more now.
Bro, goats, they cry. You understand?
I saw all of you and your lashing in the group. But I also don't want us to get to the point where we now then downplay Messi. And you know, there's always the Messi-Ronaldo's part. But we must acknowledge that he's a great player.
Look,
he really is a good.
What makes someone a complete? Because I mean, this world beyond our before our profession. Before our profession, we're first human beings. What makes you a star athlete is not just what you do on the pitch, it's your humanity. That's why Muhammad Ali would be the greatest athlete of all time, as far as I'm concerned. And that's why I'm happy for Ronaldo also. He does a lot of charity, UNICEF work. I mean, Messi has not said one thing against genocide and people that are dying or children. He just plays football. There's more. Use your platform to speak about humanity. You're a global superstar. You can use it to change the world. Michael Jackson, all these guys, they did it.
So that's the yardstick by which you are.
No, that's not my own. It's part of it's my personal yardstick.
Wait, now.
He cheats. You know, he was trying to get somebody sent off yesterday. Have you seen blatant handballs? you need to go and see. There's a whole catalogue.
I agree, Benga, that sometimes in the course of playing football, emotions get really heightened, and sometimes there's a certain desperation that comes to the fore.
They need to put him back in that bath.
He's a fantastic player. Messi is a fantastic player. Ronaldo is a fantastic player. Let's all rest. Please, let's see what Nigerians are saying about this, if we do have tweets. And then we'll move to our next. But first, let's take a look at match highlight before we see what Nigerians are saying.
And so it is Spain's time. 2 summers ago, they danced in Berlin, crowned champions of Europe again. And now, once more, Spain are elevated from continental to global glory. They are coming up by number. David Raya, Mark Pubel, those who have been this time on the fringe. Players for whom their only precedent was the hallowed class of 2010. So these men walk now in the footsteps of Puyol and Piqué, of Busquets and Alonso, of Xavi and Iniesta. And there is the man who won it. He is famed now. His name is golden forever and a day. Dani Olmo was a delight. Scheming and certain and poised, wearing 10.
All right, that is our match highlight for you this morning. We will, of course, share what Nigerians are saying on YouTube. But first, let's head to X to see what is being said about this final game and, how Nigerians are taking it. Congrats, Spain. Is this person? We say what Nigerians are saying. This profile picture, is he a Nigerian profile picture?
Just what the world.
Okay, so it's what the world is saying. Congrats, Spain, but Messi just proved you can't win a World Cup with a single goal. You need a whole team.
Bam.
Okay, and the next...
It's a dream work.
Indeed. The next tweet says, loved watching the game with you guys, even if it was hard to see Argentina lose. Emily says, it would have been disheartening to see Argentina take it. Okay. Good game. Spain was deserving of the win. They outplayed Argentina, even if the score does not show that. That's what the tweet says. Spain proving they're the best team in the world. And that is what the world is saying on X. But let's head to
the score should have been
YouTube. Good morning, Mokuye Chukwemeka. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Good morning, Michael Zeus. All our YouTube audience. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Femi Olagunju. Let me start with Michael Zeus. Michael Zeus says, FIFA tried everything to hand the cup to Argentina, but they failed. The referee wasn't qualified to handle such high-level match. Even those in the VAT room are Ogede. Kudos to Spain. And say Ogede. Wow. Anyway, Mr. Johnson says, I was for Argentina because I don't want any Arsenal player to win that World Cup trophy. Part of why my friend's husband was rejoicing was because of the Arsenal players. He's a staunch Arsenal fan, and he was rejoicing because of the Arsenal players on the Argentine team. The Spain team. He said, but unfortunately, my banter no win this time. We move to Premier League in a few weeks. Femi Olagunju says, good day, New Central. I'm very happy for Spain. They truly deserve to win the trophy. Where will Africa get this trophy? In the words of the legendary poet and the philosopher Omar Omi, if you ask me, now who I go ask?
Osimhen will lift the trophy for Nigeria in 2030.
Okay, amen. Good day. Okay, Michael Zeus says, Argentina is a racist nation. Hence, not a single black Argentine, despite their participation in slave trade. Joe Oliver Benga, what happened to Argentina?
Well, it's called the principle of blancamiento. It's the erasure of blackness in Argentina. So, read more about it. That's one of the reasons why I don't support that. I can never support that.
I just laughed because I saw a comment. Let me read that comment.
Argentina was also a sanctuary for Nazis after the Second World War, after committing crimes in Europe. They fled there and they opened their arms for them and welcomed them. So it's known as a home for Nazis and racists and all sorts of people. So I don't support teams like that.
Lilian Oloha says, Olive, my little son Yamal has won. Spain deserves it. They only conceded 2 goals in 7 matches. Bagresi says...
it was only 1 goal they considered.
I want to read these comments that will trigger the both of you. Can you allow me read it?
Go on.
Bagresi Fido says, Messi is the greatest of all time. Messi is a GOAT. Give it to him. But Spain played very well.
Yeah,
and our Gels stats, but... And our Gels... You can't just even allow it slide. Mr. Johnson says, Benga, you don't like Messi and you just want one of Ronaldo fans that doesn't want to agree with Messi, play good football better than see Ronaldo, but it's all good. And in response to Mr. Johnson, Mokuye Chukwemeka says, for you to support Argentina despite their bad character shows you support APC.
Oh my God. How did you bring No, that bad possession.
He then goes on.
How did APC get it?
He then goes on to say, I'm joking, no, St. Johnson. I love the banter in our YouTube comment section. Wow. 2 more comments here. Marvelous Sonny says, congratulations to Spain, well deserved. And Avuwa Honda says, what we saw yesterday was the greatest football of all time. Technically and professionalism, both teams are great, but victory must go to one. Once again, for all of us here at News Central and on Breakfast Central Television, congratulations to the Spaniards.
Yes, Viva España.
Española. Okay, let's come back and...
to reality.
To reality, our reality.
Okay, let's ring the bell. Let's...
And to the amphibious citizens of Lagos State that are walking both on land and...
let's go back home. I give you the ones that, after you have received the one that made you smile, let's share you with the one that will make you sad. A teacher named Zacchaeus Olatunde, who was among those abducted in Oriire local government area, has shared his ordeal after spending 56 days in captivity. He revealed that the abductors themselves released the victims before the military arrived, a claim that raises question about the exact nature of the rescue operation. Throughout their captivity, the victims were blindfolded, unsure if they were even in Nigeria, and lived under constant fear. The teacher's account paints a vivid picture of survival under harsh conditions, saying their eventual release came suddenly, with the abductors' commander announcing freedom before arranging motorcycles to move them closer to safety. Only later did security forces escort them home, after initial suspicion from the victims, who feared the soldiers might be imposters. In detailing this story, he also did mention at some point that he was the first to be captured, the last to be released, that they couldn't find the key to remove his handcuff, and that at some point when the soldier told him to come back, he was afraid, he thought they were going to shoot him. You know, we do have clips. I believe that we may be able to play a video. Of course, you've been seeing the reactions to the Oriire kidnap, and the account of the army, our military had said that they carried out a rescue.
And also Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President also said that they carried out a rescue. But from what this man said in an interview on a radio station on Nigerian Info FM, he did give a detailed account, stating there that it wasn't really like that. It's not what they are saying, that basically they were released. So it then begs the question: what happened? Was it released, or was it a release, or was it a rescue? That is the question. Recall that Governor Seyi Makinde had also said that they should investigate what happened in the Oriire attacks, and that there might be more to it than meets the eye. But let's take a look at this video. All right. So yes, like I mentioned earlier, it was a video of an interview that he did with the Nigerian Info FM. And you know that we have been hearing different reports about what exactly happened. So he's talking about the fact that they were released, and then later the military came to escort them home. That in fact, there were reports of how the man was smiling when he was telling them that, they're about to go home. And then there's the account of the federal government stating that the rescue was conducted and that people lost their lives in the course of the rescue. Armed men lost their lives. So whose version do we believe? There's also been the complaints that one has given about not having gotten support, psychosocial support, since they have been returned to their families. So Whose report will you believe, the government or the eyewitness?
With this interview that the gentleman has granted, I don't think psychosocial support will be touching him anytime soon. No, just my opinion. But on a serious note, I mean, this is a man that has gone through a harrowing ordeal. You wouldn't even wish it on your worst enemy to be in the kidnapper's den for more than a month in the harshest of conditions, open to all the elements. And I mean, it's really not people. This is why people cast aspersions and doubt statements coming from official channels. And one of the reasons why Governor Makinde has called for an independent inquiry into what happened. Was it a rescue or were they released? And this teacher's account, we can't just dismiss it. It's his own lived reality, and it's opened more questions. So it would be nice for the authorities to respond to this latest allegations and maybe issue a statement and clarify things that maybe the teacher, from his own vantage point.
Why are you saying maybe? Why are you trying to give them? Let them just issue a statement.
I mean, there are two sides to it now. Like Olive said, somebody version A, this person said this, another person said this. So the jury is out there to determine who's saying the truth.
We are actually living in critical times. And when we say we live in critical times, especially with this story, one would ordinarily imagine that by now we would understand why the Oyo State governor was asking for an independent review of how the rescue was done. Everyone is now starting to say, okay, especially after that interview. Now, don't forget, there's also, what's his name? The guy who joined us, the guy who's been covering the kidnapping stories. English Alaji had also gone online to say nothing happened. There were no gunshots fired, that it was nothing. In his words, he said no fly was hurt, that it was just an exchange. That's what he called it. It was an exchange. But, take your people and so on. Now, the teacher's account, see, the thing is, who are you going to believe? That's when Nigerians... So
when Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Governor Seyi Makinde, when they ask legitimate questions with regards to the method and what really transpired, the feedback we're getting from the government is you are not loyal, you are casting doubts on the professionalism of the Nigerian army.
Exactly.
So, I mean, where's the burden of proof here? What do we really need as a country? And I think the truth will set you free. If it was a release, let us know that it was a release. And so we can plan better.
I wanted to see the reaction of the Senate on this. Recall how they reacted last week when Governor Seyi Makinde called for the United Nations to step in.
They all shut him down.
Adams Oshomole, yes. All of them, they shut him down because they thought he's disregarding our law enforcement agencies, our armed forces, undermining the impact and the influence of the armed forces. It's not us that said it this time. It's an eyewitness that said it live on radio. Our job is just to share the information. So I want to see how the Senate will treat this before I make any comments. So I'll rest my case. By tomorrow morning, we'll have it back.
There are multiple layers.
I don't think...
The presidency, Mr. Bayon...
So the presidency...
has questions.
The presidency and the Senate. I want to see how they will respond to this.
Let me just take this here. If you're expecting anything for the presidency, you will not get it. Because whether you like it or not, they had already mentioned that people should not politicize the victory.
Asking questions is not politics.
So, Benga, I think we've seen a pattern. And the pattern we've seen is that when questions are being asked on certain things, on certain happenings, we usually don't get the response. We don't get the answers. What we get is, hey, don't politicize. Our word is final. I don't know how far we're going to go with this, but it's starting to smell really bad. And when we say smell really bad as journalists, we're confused. But I like the fact that journalists are also they're doing the job. Because one thing, first of all, kudos to, Nigerian Info for having that interview. Looking at the fact that you asked a victim, who would better tell the truth? Is it the victim who was there for 44 days or a press release statement? The victim came out to say, listen, we're just told, let's wake up. You can now go. We're taken on bikes. We got to a certain place. They told us, okay, wait here, move here. The guy even said he lost his way. They told him, no, follow this way, go like this, go and wait there. And then who arrived? The army arrived, and then they picked them up. That is his account. The thing is, can others corroborate same statements? The answer is starting to look that way, because also an interview of another victim was done. Remember, who said that they were smelling, the people helped them to wash their clothes and then put the clothes back on them. And then the issue of, okay, the kids were hungry, they got them something to eat. However, they also told them no go. So everything is starting to look like, okay, what's going on? I don't blame the governor of saying, well, these accounts are a bit, obnoxious. They're looking somehow. So can we investigate it? Can I get someone different to look into it? I don't think there's anything wrong. And I think, whether we like it or not, Nigerians are over 200 and something million. The Senate can decide to disagree with the governor. But if a huge number of Nigerians say, who deserve to know the truth ask, hey, we want to know the truth, then they should know the truth. Don't try to stop them because you feel, oh, no. And again, just finally, my final words, if they carry out this investigation, it would help us understand the clearer path on what happened.
Lessons to be learned.
Right. I completely, I align with the both of you. But just to add that, at the end of the day, they say when two elephants fight, is the grass that suffer. The Nigerian citizens are the ones that have to bear the brunt of this. There are people who have been in kidnappers' victims, whether they were rescued or they were released or they were exchanged. At the end of the day, they've been in a traumatic situation that they did not ask to be put in. What they need right now is psychosocial support from the government. So we're hoping to see that support in terms of therapy. They've been traumatized, but we need to get to the root of it. If there is anything that needs to be uncovered, let it be uncovered and let the truth prevail. He who has nothing to hide does not have fear of being investigated or being searched. But let's see what Nigerians are saying about this. You can drop your comments on YouTube, News Central TV Live, but let's head to X first to take some tweets. On X this morning.
Well, let's see. This one says, we will know the truth soon, according to Prof. He's certain that the truth will come out. Pat Johnson says, and this is not the first time victims have said this same thing, but we don't judge, we listen. Okay, Daddy's Girl says, my heart still goes out to the man who was killed for no reason. Our hearts also go out to him too and his family. And the woman who was expecting her husband to come back home, she was celebrating. Unbeknownst to her, he was also, unalived too. Olusegun Bakare says, when Governor Seyi Makinde requested for a private investigation, these are the kind of things he wants Nigerians to know. He was chastised, criticized, but now Nigerians are starting to see, okay, now we're having double sides. Maybe he was right after all. Shehu Abdullahi says, so who do we believe now? Army said soldiers were killed in the operation. Ditto the police too. SSS got some clean, rugged guys and made an arrangement. Meanwhile, victims say the terrorists released them and soldiers just came to take them home, rather.
Okay. Let me give you the official response of the Nigerian Army. They said in a coordinated operation with intelligence agencies, they successfully rescued, keyword, rescued 44 pupils and teachers abducted in Oriire local government area of Oyo State. The victims, who spent 56 days in capacity, were freed without the payment of ransom following intense pressure and a strangulation blockade on terrorist hideouts in Old Oyo National Park. The Army detailed the following key aspects of the rescue operation. Tactical approach. The military avoided kinetic airstrikes to prevent collateral damage to the children, utilizing instead a surgical intelligence-led operation. Network dismantling. Troops targeted kidnappers, kingpins, logistic links, informants, exerting overwhelming pressure that forced the unconditional release of the victims. So if you look at that, anyway, let me finish with all of that and then we can go into analysis. Security casualties. The Army confirmed casualties on the side of the security forces, notably a 28-year-old Lieutenant Felix Ademe Isaac, who was killed during an initial breach when his convoy encountered landmines. And victim status, finally, following the release, the rescued pupils and teachers were transported to a military medical facility for treatment and trauma care before being reunited with the Oyo State government and their families. So that's what we have there. So maybe perhaps after they had used the network dismantling, troops targeted the kidnappers, kingpins, logistics, links, informants exerting overwhelming pressure that forced the unconditional release of the victims. That's when they put them on the back and said, you know, we're done. We're suffering from overwhelming pressure from Nigerian security forces. You can go and sin no more. Maybe, perhaps.
Maybe.
Until we get a clearer picture on this.
All right, let's take comments from YouTube regarding this as well to see what Nigerians think about this. Bragasi says, APC government is an abracadabra government. Government official will cover up. This government has lost integrity and people don't believe in their release. Nenjinson says, I will believe the victims 100% over the government. The government will say the victim is not mentally stable. Marcus McCain says, this government is completely full of lies. We have never had such clueless government. They don't have truth because they are playing politics with human life. New Central, seriously, you guys are too good. Please remain blessed and stand for truth and professionalism in this profession. Thank you, Marcus. Bagazi says, the Oriire answer is not far-fetched. How did the body of the late general, how was it brought to his family? And Mokin Chukwuemeka says, in a coordinated operation with intelligence agencies. Do you know if the intelligence agencies were the kidnappers? Just ask him. Okay, Chukwuemeka has asked another one. All right, our third wake-up conversation would be in line of the NBA having elected its 33rd president and the 33rd president of the...
And the first female.
He's the first, no, well, second female to lead the Nigerian Bar Association. However, her leadership is not without controversy. We'll be looking into this properly as one of our top stories, but that's not all the top stories. Let's share with you what the top stories today are on Breakfast Central. Our top stories today. Atiku demands forensic probe of 210 billion naira duplicate allocations in 2026 budget. And away from that, federal government links security crisis to foreign interests. We're bringing you the update on that. And now to the NBA 2026 highly contested election, depending on which side you support. You know, there's either rejoicing or there's crying. We'll be looking at AI in education. Questions remain about Nigeria's readiness and implementation, and the front pages of the newspaper will also be in focus. Stay tuned for all these and more.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Fresh concerns have emerged over the integrity of Nigeria's 2026 Appropriation Act after former Vice President and African Democratic Congress presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar called on the National Assembly to conduct a forensic investigation into allegations of more than 210 billion naira in duplicating and overlapping budget allocations. The former vice president argues that the alleged irregularities undermine public trust and point to deeper weaknesses in Nigeria's public finance management system.
The allegations have reignited conversations about transparency, legislative oversight and accountability in the budgeting process. They also raise broader questions about how public funds are appropriated, monitored and safeguarded, especially at a time when government continues to defend difficult economic reforms while citizens face mounting pressures.
Now, to help us examine what these allegations mean for budget credibility, for public accountability, and for institutional reforms, we're joined by Stephen Akinfala, Communications Manager and Connected Development Code, an organization at the forefront of promoting transparency, citizen participation, and accountability in public finance. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning for having me.
Good morning. Allegations of over 210 billion naira in duplicated budget allegations, they are not small things. It's quite significant. So from a budget transparency perspective, how do duplications of this scale, you know, how do they make it in? And what really is there any defense in this regard?
Okay, thank you. Just to say that this is an allegation, right? And if proven, then there will be a bigger problem. But in the meantime, how did this come about? There could be three different reasons from our standpoint of view. Yes, it could be an administrative error, right? You know, during budget compilation, especially when multiple MDAs submit their similar requests, so there could be an administrative error. You know, this is an allegation. Also, it could be as the result of a systemic weakness, right? You know, it arises from we operate a form of a fragmented budgeting system, and there could be, due to the weak data integration and inadequate quality assurance. So this could be. And thirdly, it can actually be a deliberate manipulation, where duplications is intentional. It is used to inflate allocation to create room for misuse. And this can be established through investigation. So for us to know what exactly it is, whether it's an administrative error or a systemic weakness or it's a deliberate manipulation, the investigation should take its course. And at that point, we should be able to know what exactly the problem is. Nigeria budget involves thousands of projects. There's a lot of projects there running into trillions of nairas in allocation. So without a strong digital validation, there will be duplicate entries. Duplicate entries can escape detection. This concern is just whether duplication exists, but why existing control failed to detect it, because budget reaches before the budget reaches the presidential assent, because if nothing is done, it's been passed and it's turned to law. Yeah.
Now, Mr. Akinfala, whose responsibility is it to find out what really happened, if it was administrative or clerical errors, and why is it important for Nigerians to know the truth about this duplicate entries?
So the truth is, right, all the institutions that have been set up across the budget chain, they all have a responsibility for effective accountability. So from the ministries and MGAs that are preparing this budget, they should have done their own due diligence at first. So we can't put the burden on just one. From the MDAs, by the time it gets, FEC has approved it, it goes through, the MDA produces, they nominate this project, they send it gets to the presidency, it presents to FAC, they looked at it before it's been sent to the legislature. So at each level, it should have been looked at. Now, at the legislative level as well, they should actually take their time, not just rubber stamping, right? So at every level, and after that, it goes back to the presidency to see whether what the amendment or whatever that has been done to the budget, it's okay to go. So there are changes to it, and by the time we're done with this, unfortunately, if it's been passed into law, there should still be monitoring, but there are different levels, and these levels are there just to check. So we can't say, hey, legislators, obviously, what if it was deliberate? So that means now we should blame the people that deliberately put in this budget line duplicately with intention of, mismanaging the resources as well. Also, the legislators also have the role to also take time to look at this, So to answer your question, it's a collective effort. None of these things should be, if we are able to check at every level, each of the institutions should make the budget more effective at each level.
Okay, an agency, better known as, I think, CODE, has actually advocated, for open governance and citizen oversight. Now, can you share with us what specific reforms will make Nigeria's budgeting process more transparent and also allow citizens to detect irregularities before budgets are passed into law? Because what it seems pretty much is like, once the budget has been, has passed through the stages, especially go to the National Assembly, and then approvals are made, Nigerians keep seeing, even there's a repetition of some items every single year. So what can be done now to change that? Okay,
so I'll just use the word technology. I think, and I believe technology can come to our aid, but if we continue with these old ways of preparing budgets, things like this will continue, right? It's a lot of things, but if we're able to first adopt technology so that with a click, at a glance, you can detect duplications, right? And beyond that, there should be citizens' involvement. Imagine you having a project being in the budget in your community and you're not even aware. We should be able to know what is happening, what is coming to my communities, right? So we know that you said our road that has been fixed is still in the budget again that is going to be fixed. But if I'm involved, if we are involved, you and I are involved in this budget cycle, we will know that, oh, this road has been fixed. What we need is this other road. The hospital is in good shape. Our school is in bad shape. But because these are not, communities are not, common people are not involved, the budget looks so ambiguous and not clear. It discourages people to even know what exactly is in this. So if you're able to adopt technology, if you're able to get communities involved in the budget cycle, and for civil society organization as well, we will continue to help citizens to simplify this complex budget information, and also train citizens to monitor this project, because it requires some level of skills, so they will be able to get involved in all of this. And also, as civil society organization like Connected Development, we also conduct independent budget analysis. We looked at what is in the budget. We go to grassroots communities to let them know what they should expect from their elected officials. So those three things: technology, citizens' involvement, simplifying complex informations. With all of this, we'll be able to checkmate, regardless, even if these people are intentionally putting these duplicates, it will be detected, and it becomes harder for us to have issues like this.
All right. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has called for investigations by the National Assembly, by the Auditor General, the anti-corruption agencies, and civil society. Now, in practical terms, what should a credible forensic review of the budget look like, and what outcomes should Nigerians expect if wrongdoing is established? Like you mentioned earlier, these are still allegations.
Yeah. So a credible review must be independent, right? It should be evidence-based and has to be transparent. So the things that we should look out for should be something like there should be a cross analysis, check across NDAs to identify genuine duplicates, right? Because some projects might actually not be duplicates, but if you're able to check, they might have the similar code or look alike, but looks different. But if it is well analyzed, we know with evidence that these are not duplicates. Then we should be able to distinguish between legitimate multi-year projects. There are some projects that spans for multiple years, and resources has to be released per year to deliver on all of this. And we should know the difference between that and, improper repetition, right? So we're able to trace, introduce each of these amendments as well. So, and this investigation should be able to tell us who exactly who the culprit is, at what level was this inserted, what was the intention. If it's an administrative error, we would know. The forensic evidence should reveal that to us. And we should do a digital audit drills where available. And the findings should be published publicly for everybody to see, right? So these are the things that Nigerians will be looking forward to, not just a press statement that tells us things that are not evidence-based. So we would like to see, let us compare, there be an evidence-based and a transparent kind of a credible investigation. We look forward to that. This should not, that amount of money is a lot. It can transform life. People are paying through their nose, paying taxes. So we should not allow such to just go away while Nigerians are suffering for this.
Now, Mr. Akinfala, there's a school of thought, especially those who are supporters of the ruling party. They would say, this is a mere allegation, and the opposition is making a mountain out of a molehill, that there's no way the Ministry of Finance will release this huge amount of money twice for the same line item and project. Are there early warning systems or red flag mechanisms that would, flag this sort of entry and not allow? Because, it's still a budget line at the end of the day. Money has not been dispersed. And do you think the opposition is making a mountain out of a molehill, or is there a possibility that the Ministry of Finance could actually release money twice for the same line item?
Yeah, it's possible actually, because if it is being passed into law, then it's gone. So I think we should be able to ask questions. People should not be silent. Not even, don't put them and say, don't politicize it. Don't say they are opposition parties. These are questions. These are our money. It's just like, we've gone beyond that era where we are not running a dictatorship kind of governance. So we should be able to ask questions. If you don't have anything to hide, you should be able to answer those questions, and it should not be hard. You might say they're distracting you or something, right? But that is not distraction. This is our money. It is not your... And again, you know that we are borrowing money again to even finance this budget. It's not like if we have excesses now, the era of oil boom, it's gone, far gone. Things are not like when we have excess money to just play around with. We are operating on a tight budget. What we have, so these are not, I don't think they are making a mountain out of the moon. I don't think they are over-exaggerating this. I believe these are questions that needs to be answered, right? So answer the question if you are sure that there's no skeleton in your cupboard, there's nothing you want to hide. So, and again, if at all, this even still go beyond, and that's what we keep telling people, politics goes beyond the election day, goes beyond, it's not a one-off thing, it's a cycle. So by the time this is being passed, there should still be a monitoring and evaluation. People should still be able to see, by the time we spend this money, the audits should still come and audit the accounts and see how was this money spent, right? Even if they escape at one point. And that's the reason why all of these mechanisms are in place to checkmate for corruptions and the transparency. We are not saying that is the case now, right? But the mechanism, the structure we have on ground, if judiciously implemented, will be able to dictate where these errors or this mismanagement of resources might likely come in from.
We're hoping that there will be a response from the presidency concerning this, especially the line items. Yeah. Don't forget there was another one that had to focus on the Almajiri, the over 8-point-something million as well, or billion, I beg your pardon. And then you had the major one, which is the, I wouldn't call it a fake agency, we'll do the embattled DG of the PF. Remember, that one again has its own on the same budget. And then there was the argument of the office of the First Lady. People asked, is that an office really? Why do you have that as well mentioned? But these are the conversations that we hope to have in due time. But thank you so much for your time, and thanks for highlighting some of these necessary things to be done.
Thank you.
Thank you, so.
All right. Move on now to our next story, a conversation that we must have. Well, as conversations around artificial intelligence continue to shape global education system, Nigeria is also exploring ways to integrate the technology into its learning framework. While government officials say the move is aimed at preparing students for future opportunities, questions remain about readiness and implementation. Our correspondent Sumaya Abubakar takes a closer look at the claims, the rollout, and what it means for student development. Take a look.
Intelligence is being proposed as part of Nigeria's education reforms, with plans to integrate it into digital technology and related subjects. The move is aimed at preparing students with digital skills for the future, but implementation is yet to begin in many schools. Teachers and education stakeholders are already raising concerns about readiness, especially in schools facing shortages of computers, internet access, and other learning facilities.
It cannot stand alone. It will be integrated into other subjects to make it easier for children to learn and to bring out the creativity also of children using this AI. It's a welcoming idea, but how we are going to implement it in schools all over Nigeria is actually the catch.
AI requires some high level of connection for you to actually know what's happening, right? So if we don't have electricity in those villages, in those rural areas, we don't have access to laptops, we don't have access to internet.
I do like the implementation of AI in our school, so I would encourage them to do it. It would help students know how to use technology better. It could also help with their social skills, because AI can help with a bunch of things.
Even if they are able to reach these people in the rural areas, it's not that all the time they have facilities in order to be able to apply the AI correctly.
Education and technology experts say introducing AI and digital-related learning can improve students' future opportunities. But teachers say training and learning resources will be critical, while experts warn that without proper infrastructure and teacher capacity, implementation may face challenges.
Personally, as a teacher, I incorporate the use of AI in planning my lessons to teach my learners. But in the education system as a whole, this is not yet feasible. This is not visible at the moment.
The fact that this thing has been spoken about, things like this take time because you don't want to do it and make a mistake. So the planning process is actually the real process. Then the implementing process is another process. And you also have to have a prototype, start it off somewhere and see how it blossoms.
I think government needs to take it from regulation down to see how we can provide infrastructure and see how we can support innovators. I think with that, we'll be able to have a very smooth acceptance for this AI.
For now, discussions around AI in classrooms continue as stakeholders await a transition from policy announcements to implementation. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Very
So,
interesting.
You need to crawl first before you walk. So we can't be speaking AI in education when the basics are lacking. We're still dealing with electricity and access to...
And 20 million out of school children.
Yes, and 20 million out of school. Maybe we should first get those 20 million in school before we discuss AI. But, I mean, the world is not going to wait for us.
At all.
The world is not going to
And that's what I was going to mention, that the world, the people that are children will compete against. It's a global village. They're going to be competing with people who started creating codes as far back as
digital
5, 6,
yes.
exactly 6 years old. People who understood AI, who use it.
language.
Exactly. So we have a lot of catching up to do, and we don't have time. Because if we don't put our acts together, you know, the world will move ahead and leave us behind.
Even
and beyond
us,
even
as
Nigeria.
professionals, we still have a lot of learning to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think also the continent of Africa, we need to look within our continent and see how we can leverage AI for our own benefit. But let's tell you now that the Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative, in collaboration with the Office of the Auditor of the Federation, among other partners, have inaugurated the Women in Public Sector Audit Leadership Dialogue, also serving as the official launchpad for the pioneering gender response auditioning framework. The initiative, aimed at integrating equity metrics into the management of public funds, follows worrisome data from the 2025 Subnational Audit Efficacy Index, which reveals that only 3 out of Nigeria's 36 states have female state auditors general. The index also revealed that no state conducted a gender-focused audit in the 2024 financial year. Let's take a look.
It is my expectation that it will serve as a useful guiding document for subnationals audit institutions seeking to integrate appropriate gender consideration into their audit work while maintaining the core principles of independence, objectivity, professional judgment, and evidence-based reporting.
Even more concerning, none of the 36 states conducted a gender-responsive audit during the 2024 financial year. Women remain significantly underrepresented in leadership positions within public audit institutions. Second, despite increasing public investments aimed at improving outcomes for women, girls, and vulnerable populations, our audit system rarely assesses whether these expenditures actually deliver equitable and inclusive results.
This imbalance is not restricted to the audit sector. It's a reflection of the broader structural limitations that we are dealing with in ensuring that women have access to senior decision-making positions, and that institutional culture can favor gender equitable leadership. When we start to think about how do we bring this up, we have to think about the mentorship pipeline for female auditors and how to ensure consistent implementation of gender inclusive recruitment and promotion policies.
Yes, you're still watching Breakfast Central. We're done with the first of 3 hours. We still have 2 engaging hours to go. But let's bring you a recap of what we've done this morning. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar demands forensic probe of 210 billion naira duplicate allocations in 2026 budget. AI in education. Questions remain about Nigeria's readiness and implementation. And also, we told you about inclusive governance. SI partners unveil gender responsive auditing framework. But let's tell you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central this morning. Nigeria's presidency links Nigeria's security crisis to foreign interests. We'll be bringing you analysis of this and more. Oyinkansola Badejo-Okusanya emerges as 33rd NBA president. And consumers groups slam federal government over exclusion from Implementation Act. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Over the weekend, the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, conducted its elections to elect new executives of the bar, but controversies seem to have trailed the just concluded Nigerian Bar Association elections, where Mrs. Okusanya made history as she emerged as the 33rd NBA president. Now, while her victory is being celebrated as a landmark moment for gender representation in the legal profession, questions remain about the transparency of the process, the conduct of the polls, and the deep divisions within the association.
From allegations of irregularities to concerns about factional interests, the election has sparked heated debates across the legal community as the NBA turns a new chapter under Okusanya's leadership. We turn our attention to the president of the Nigerian Bar Association to address the controversies head-on and clarify what this transition means for the integrity and unity of the bar. Join us this morning is the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mazi Afam Osigwe. A warm welcome to you, Mazi Osigwe, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Thank you for joining us, SAN.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right.
My first question will be your assessment of the NBA elections and also the build-up to the elections, which seem to be controversial. What's your take on it?
Well, let me start by noting that long before the electoral process commenced, some people set out to ensure that whatever be the outcome of the electoral process, it was bound to be controversial. It was bound to appear to lack credibility. But to the best of my knowledge, the election was as good, considering the circumstance we found ourselves in. There were, though, a few unfortunate incidents. Many people could not get the OTP to vote. But that can be explained by the fact that before now, OTPs were sent simultaneously to a person's email address and as text message to their phones. But some candidates claim without proof that the emails were hacked, that OTPs sent to people's emails were hijacked by third parties and used to vote on their behalf. And on account of that, a last-minute change was introduced, eliminating OTPs being sent to people's email. And because of DND status and maybe some other technical problems I may not be qualified to speak about, some of these persons could not get their OTP. And then there was the issue of the cyber attack on our voting platform, which resulted in the election being over 7 hours behind schedule. But all in all, I think it was a good electoral process. There are a few lessons to be learned from it. And then the attitude of lawyers in making every effort to either undermine the process, frustrate it, or truncate it would have to be discussed at some point.
All right. In response to the NBA elections, we've seen Leonard Yemi Akongbe, who was also one of the contestants, candidates rather, he put out a statement. I'm going to read an excerpt from it. He says, "This election was shambolic. It is a shame to the bar." And then he goes on to give a few examples where he says, "I, a presidential candidate in this election, was completely disenfranchised. I could not vote. The chairman of the ECNBA and the NBA president personally sent me over 5 separate links to access the voting portal. Not one of them worked. Let that settle for a moment. The 2 most senior officials overseeing this election intervened directly to help a presidential candidate cast his ballot, and even their intervention could not overcome the failure of the platform that they deployed." Would like you to speak to that. Because
well, I find that message by Yemi very strange, and I wouldn't want to say he's telling a lie, but that does not represent what transpired. Yemi Akongbe reached out to me claiming that so many links were being circulated, and I forwarded the same to the CNBA and reverted to Yemi to say that the link he sent to me was a phishing link. That was not, and I sent him the official link from ECNBA, and I don't know where he's getting this idea of 5 different links. There were no 5 different links. There was only one link. And it's unfortunate if it is a portrayal, but if he insists, we would have to publish the screenshot conversation between Yemi Akongwe and I don't know if Yemi Akongwe voted or could not vote, or whether he chose not to vote. But in this period and time, propaganda walks around in broad daylight, and I will not be able. I don't want to comment about Yemi. I don't want to comment about it. And he also reached out to me to complain that I had over 4,000 young lawyers waiting to vote for me, who could not vote. And I gave him a link of a technical person who could assist him. And I don't know what he wants. But from day one, Yemi Akongwe was among those who were criticizing everything, and nothing was good enough for him. I don't want to be dragged into this process. I only try to assist. And I complained to Yemi Akongwe that I was not ECMBA, that he shouldn't be reaching out to me. But he kept doing that. And to avoid a situation where I will be accused of indifference, I tried to do my best for Mr. Yemi Akongwe. But I retrieved that nobody sent Yemi Akongwe 5 different links. And I dare him to publish the 5 different links that we sent to him. I never did. Okay. And the only link I sent to him, I got from ECNBA. And I think he should stop sensationalizing this election. In that statement, he said that I was a purported winner of the 2024 election. Yemi thrives on such things, and I wouldn't want to respond to him further.
Okay. So from onlookers, it seems like the NBA is also having its fair share of disgruntled members, those who are not happy with the processes. I'm just going to read through one of an interested member. Of course, the senior advocate of Nigeria, Jibrin Okutepa. He also went on social media and said that I've lost faith in the Nigerian Bar Association as professional association of lawyers. Credibility, objectivity, honesty, and integrity have all departed from the NBA, he said, and I quote him, affairs of the NBA and the politics in NBA, unfortunately. And then he makes this a very strong statement. I'm just going to scroll through the end because it's a long statement in which he made. He said, these NBA elections opened my eyes to appreciate how hollow and shallow most of the people who pontificate and call politicians names are. I'm just going to stop there for now because it's quite...
Yes. I would have been surprised if with J.S. Okutepa didn't say that. That has become his stock in trade. In every election cycle, if the candidate J.S. Okutepa supports wins, then the election is credible. I recall in 2016, when he supported A.B. Mahmoud and he won, the election was credible. 2018, he supported us to Bioka and he lost, was not credible. I fast forward to 2024, he supported me and I won, and he said the election was credible. So he's like a yo-yo when it comes to LMB elections. And it is interesting to know that he's an interested party who was one of those who set out to truncate this election. J.S. Okutepa was the lead counsel in the 2 lawsuits that went to Ibadan, which the Court of Appeal described as forum shopping, and that they went to a court that lacked jurisdiction. He pretends to have integrity, but his integrity depends on where he stands. And I dare him, I say it all the time, J.S. Okutepa speaks from both sides of his mouth. He went to a court that lacked jurisdiction to get an injunction as lead counsel, stopping the election, to get another injunction that only one candidate should be processed. J.S. Okutepa has never hidden it, that his intention in this election was to see the crowning of a candidate and that 2 other candidates should be disqualified. I shouldn't be responding to him. He's an undemocratic person. His professional involvement in this case shows more than should be required. And he's telling us he has lost confidence. We have lost confidence in actions of lawyers like him who put the judicial process to the wrong use. We are disappointed in actions of senior counsel like him who we take to social media to say things that do not represent the fact and the law. You shouldn't be quoting him in this process. So the trusted party who speaks as he pleases him, not as represents the fact. The Court of Appeal judgment is there, speaking volumes about his involvement and what he pushed in this election. And we are quoting him. We shouldn't be quoting him.
Yes, okay. But how would you respond to Nigerians that said they're disappointed in the MBA? They say, you know, what we just witnessed is a reflection of what happens with the political class, that they expect better conduct based on your professions and being a body of legal practitioners in Nigeria, that the issues of zoning, some of these issues we have with INEC and all of this is even playing out, even though it's not the entire country that is voting for a professional body, that it shows that we have a long way to go. How would you respond to that?
Now, I'll plead with those Nigerians for the understanding. When the MB elders of the bar sat down and, for purposes of inclusivity, decided that the MBA leadership should rotate among the regions, the thinking was that it would promote unity. What we have witnessed in this election is the opposite of the reason for incorporating zoning in our constitution. And it is no thanks to the fact that some regional body woke up and decided that if they go into conclave and pick a candidate, they will force that candidate down the throat of lawyers. And then the divisive nature of this election arose from that situation, where the position of the bar was that if one candidate is presented for an office, then such a candidate will be returned on the post. But if there are more than one candidate, then an election will take place in the best spirit of democracy. And those persons insisting that it is either their way or the highway, resorting to all manner of intrigues, dragging the judiciary into it, misleading courts to grant injunctions, hitting up the policy, saying everything negative about the election. The society will not be wrong in feeling disappointment that such a thing should be coming from the bar. I am personally disappointed that we found ourselves in that kind of situation, and that has rubbed off on this election. And lawyers should not wash such dirtiness in public. If people have such parochial interest, the best they can do is to converse for their candidate, but not try to force the bar to accept their candidate whether the bar likes that person or not. That shouldn't be encouraged and should not have happened in the first place. And so if Nigerians are disappointed, it is because they expected more and better from the legal profession, and we did not accredit ourselves very well in the eyes of the public.
Okay,
and they are right in taking in being concerned about that.
Okay, I like that you said, that the MBA you did not accredit yourselves properly. I'll come back to
we didn't. We didn't. How can we get injunction to stop an election in a court that lacks jurisdiction, in a state that lacks jurisdiction, and insisting that democracy should not be allowed to thrive by the bar? The people should be justified, will be justified in being disappointed in us. We didn't do well in that regard, but not in the electoral process per se.
Okay. We'll come back to talk about that, but still speaking about the electoral process, I want you to take a look at this video. Then when we come back, we'll ask our next question.
It lacks credibility. First, we were supposed to start at 12 midnight. We couldn't start until about 7:35 in the morning. We started the election. People couldn't vote. So many OTPs are dropping. People can't vote with the OTPs. The link isn't working. The site is not working. Even I, as a candidate, I cannot vote. I've been unable to vote. I made it known to the MBA president. I made it known to the chairman of the ECMBA. They've sent me about 3 or 4 links between the two of them. None of them is working. Even my SCN number is not recognized. It's telling me that it's a valid SCN number. I haven't heard anything like that before. Many of my supporters have been calling me. They cannot vote. Everywhere you go, Jos, Owerri, Kogi, Benue, everywhere. So we actually have more people out there who cannot vote than the ones that voted for us. The class of 2025, they're complaining that they can't even vote. I called the MBA president, I told him. He gave some explanation why they couldn't vote, and gave me a number of someone in the ICT department of the NBA to call to rectify the issues for them. I've been calling that one, he has not picked up. I've called him more than 8 times, he didn't pick up his phone. I relayed back to the NBA president. He said, oh, he didn't sleep all night. So right now he's sleeping. That's why he's not picking my calls. So many people are disenfranchised. That is the issue. Many people, including myself, is disenfranchised. I tell my people out there, all the supporters out there, please be resolute. Do not give up. Continue voting. Continue trying. The period will go until 7 in the morning. Please do not give up. I believe with what is left, a number of votes out there, we can't do it. And this is not about sour grapes. It's the reality. It's the fact. Ask anybody, they'll tell you people just simply cannot vote, especially in Lagos. They can't vote. And we have records of people that voted twice. People have the record. They have it with me, people voting twice in this election. Now we're almost 12 hours into the election. I've not been able to vote as a candidate. What kind of election is this?
All right, so now that is one of the candidates in the elections who has spoken, and you've addressed him earlier. We hope to have him join us on the show to speak about this in depth as well. But also talking about the lawyers themselves. There have been lawyers who have shared a lot of, there have been mixed reactions, right? There are lawyers who have shared the sentiment. I mean, I can see some of the posts and tweets of some lawyers saying it's affecting them psychologically that they can't vote. There are many of them who are complaining that they're not able to click on the link. They were not able to access the link. In all of this, where is the right of these lawyers who feel that they have been disenfranchised from the voting process? How do we attend to their rights? And they feel that they've been aggrieved. How do we respond to them, or how do you respond to them?
I mean, I don't want to be hasty in commenting. Yemi claimed that many people who voted multiple times. That is false, absolutely false. The list of those who voted has been published. And I want Yemi to pick up that list and show me a name that voted twice on it. Because if you voted more than once, it will timestamp you more than once. Let Yemi do that. I keep saying it. The greater the service the candidates and their supporters and different persons have done is keep discrediting, mouthing things that were not true. If Yemi was not able to vote, they could not identify his SCM number. I'll personally find out whether that is true. But about some other things he said, that's not true. About 2025 said, I said to Yemi, and I think that it is gentlemanly for Yemi not to tell only half of the story, but to tell the full story. I told him that when lawyers are called to the bar, about to be called to the bar, the NBA uses their exam number to onboard them on the portal. But they are usually advised to immediately go on the portal and change to their enrollment number as given by the Supreme Court. And that these persons who had difficulty had not changed from their law school exam number to their Supreme Court enrollment number. And I should advise them to do so. And that's why I gave him the number of Mr. Sadiq. And I think it's always good for transparency not to tell a story in half. And that's my conversation with him. About those who were unable to vote, they should get their grievances across the list. I don't know what may have happened. People getting more than one OTPs because their session timed out. Just like when you're doing banking, internet banking or mobile banking. If your session times out, even though you have put OTP, you have to be given another OTP. If you don't do it within time, you would need more and more OTP to be able to do it within time. And that's what happened. There are no doubt were problems with the electoral process. And I think it would be better for us to have a post-election audit. I have a report from ECMA to explain some of these things. I can't be explaining them. I'm not a technical person. I did not conduct the election. I had no particular role to play. The mistake I made was not ignoring Yemi. But I thought it was part of good leadership to listen to his complaints. At every hour of the night, he kept calling me. And I kept conveying his complaints to the CMBA, and I thought that was the best I could do. And where I received the rest was to pass them to him. I didn't recall him telling me he couldn't vote, but I will find an explanation. But it's not the way he's painting it.
Okay, all right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll look into more questions concerning this entire back and forth following the NBA leadership. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks so much for joining us and staying with us this morning on Breakfast Central. Well, the Nigerian Bar Association, of course, will be looking to have a change in leadership. But right now, we still have the president who's here with us this morning talking about the just concluded elections. Many have said it was fraught with irregularities. They were not able to vote. You've been able to answer the questions, pointing clearly that, listen, this was clearly done. OTPs were sent. People said they couldn't use the OTP. But there's also another conversation they're having here, and I don't understand how that also can be associated to the NBA. Many have said that, okay, the winner was seen to have some political affiliations, that possibly was the reason why she got the votes more and she was able to win. How do we as a country struggle with political issues, and then we're seeing political issues slip into the Nigerian Bar Association? Is there any way you could clarify this once and for all so Nigerians can get to know that, listen, politics is politics, the NBA is the NBA?
I don't want to comment about that, and I want to leave that to the candidates. But to the best of my knowledge, it was actually one of the candidates who didn't win, who tried to get politics into our process, outside influence into our process. And I wouldn't want to be trapped into that. I wouldn't want to be dragged into that, but from the most I could see it, we try to keep outsiders outside of our politics and try to conduct an election that to the best of our ability was free and fair, considering the circumstance we found ourselves. There were cyber attacks on our system, which made it difficult for the election to commence. There was the arrest of our service provider about 48 hours to commencement of poll. and some other things. And I wouldn't want to drag into it. But if you notice, this election recorded less votes than the last 2 previous elections. And I don't know what to hold responsible for that. But like I said, when we get the post-audit report, election report from ECMBA, and get some more, and then other MPs and recommendations will be able to speak wholly to this. But I do not think that the winner received political support to be able to win.
Now, Leonard Silk, having acknowledged some of these issues that you faced during the elections, and you did say that the ECMBA would go into, they would do a post-mortem. Is it possible that one of their recommendations would be to redo the elections? What's the possibility of that? Since you've
if I start saying that, then I would claim to have an insight into what they have done. ECMBA can make their recommendations and consider them. Those who are aggrieved also have a grievance resolution mechanism within the legal profile, within the MBA, that can also entertain grievances. I will not be here to determine what could be recommended or not recommended. Until we see them, we'll keep our gunpowder dry.
I also want to know if MBA as a body is making progress with regards to elections. We're not looking into your tenure as president, but the elections, because the elections that brought you into office were less fraught with this sort of controversies. So are we making progress or not? That's the question.
We are making progress, but what you see in this year's election is the effort by some people to discredit the electronic voting in the NBA, to show that it's not work, to drag us back to the maligned and rejected delegate system. Some people intentionally set out to discredit this process. They intentionally set out to prove that electronic voting does not work. They set out to show so that they can gain control of some kind of boardroom control over who imagines NBA president. What you're seeing is the end result of a well-oiled and orchestrated plot to discredit the electoral process. But I pray God that they don't succeed. But I think we made a lot of tremendous progress, some of which we are still grateful to God that we're standing with our head held high, that we're able to resist those efforts to truncate the electoral process and come out with an election that may not be one of our best, but at least we're able to pull through.
All right. Let's talk about where we are so far. There's a 33rd president-elect. Let's get your analysis about the woman who has been elected by the NBA at the moment. Her leadership, we've seen different reactions. There are those who are applauding and celebrating her, and of course those who are contesting the way in which she got into office. But from your perspective, speak to us about the quality of this person, the quality of her character.
Permit me not to do that.
Okay.
Well, I pray you'll be able to get to a point to interview her. She speak to her person, or to those who supported her, to say, or those who voted for her didn't vote. I don't want to praise her and then end up being accused. What did you expect? So I would rather she speaks to her about herself, or some other person do that.
All right. There have also been suggestions regarding some amendments. I did see where a suggestion was made, and someone said in the next batch of amendments to the Constitution, winning elections should not just be majority of votes, but you must win a percentage of every region of the NBA to be declared winner. Do you think that this will maybe deal with some of the issues that are plaguing the elections and those who are feeling disgruntled by the results of the elections?
If that is a worthy amendment to the Constitution to be considered, if it's put forward, the NBA members of the bar would consider that in a general meeting and take a decision, but I don't think it amounts to anything. If you win majority votes, you should imagine that we have never tried to do it to majority of this, majority of that. We may never be able to get a fair figure because some states have, some branches are more populated than others. For example, Lagos has over 15,000 voters. Abuja has about 13,000. Their voters may be in a region, say Southeast, may not be up to the votes in Lagos. Are you suggesting that if, for example, you win Lagos and then you don't win the entire Southeast or South-South, you shouldn't be declared president? I don't think, considering also that all these cities are populated by lawyers from all over Nigeria, I don't think we should go down that road. But if, like I said, the general meeting of the NBA considers such a proposal and finds it worthy for approval, it's up to them. But for me, if such a proposal is put forward, I will be voting for it.
Now, Mazi Afamosigwe, you're getting to the end of your tenure as MBA. President, what would you say some of the landmark reforms you pushed, and to also have your own, I know, I mean, it's quite awkward to toot your own horn, but some of the policies that you think and you impacted on the NBA and what your lasting legacy would be?
Well, we have focused on building the image of the bar. We focused on civic engagement and advocacy because of our firm belief that NBA should be the strong voice of the legal profession. And we've also worked to assert the independence of the legal profession and the NBA. We also worked with relevant agencies, especially NFIU, on ensuring increasing compliance with anti-money laundering and terrorism financing, compliance by lawyers, as well as many other things. But I think it would be better to ask people about what they think we have achieved. And we've also increased prudential financial management in the NBA and increased the amount of money we put aside and some of the welfare benefits we give to our members. There's so many things we have tried to do, but all in all, I will leave history and other lawyers to be the better judge of what we have achieved in office.
Okay, so I do have two questions, but following from the question my colleague just asked, I'll ask you, what you think would have been some of the policies you had hoped to implement or changes you would have liked to effect in the NBA that you were unable to, and that you believe that the incoming NBA president should jump on first of all. That'll be the first part. When you answer that, then I'll ask you the second question.
Now, coming into office, going from the experience from my campaign, I thought the cost of contesting for NBA office, the amount of travel involved was much, and I sought to change that. But unfortunately, the members in the general meeting rejected some of the financial regulations we wanted to put in place to reduce the involvement of money and the huge sum it requires to win the NBA leadership. The whole idea being to reduce the political side of the financial, the cost of the campaign, and in so much involvement of politics because of the fear that it could get politically exposed persons to be involved in a political process. But then members rejected that. I think that's an issue that every succeeding president will want to address. And also the involvement of ethnicity and ethnic tribal groups in trying to influence the outcome of approach. All in all, whatever I failed to do, I do like that those who come after me try their best to be and do.
Okay, so my second question will be the next route for those who are aggrieved by the results of the current elections. I believe that they have 7 days of appeal. So if you can walk us through what the options are for the aggrieved persons regarding the last elections.
I believe I've answered the question. I've always complained about the attitude of victors in the Nigerian election who challenge those who have lost to go to court, because it sometimes gives the impression that they already know what the outcome would be. But I always urge those who win not to gloat, to reach out to those who are hurting home and have lost the election. I hope to live to see the day when, after every election cycle in NBA, those who lost will go away knowing that they really lost, and those who won will go away believing that they deserve the victory. But unfortunately, that has not been the case again this year. We have an administrative mechanism for dispute resolution and internal remedies that people could exploit to resolve such administrative purposes. And that dispute resolution mechanism can also have the possible outcome of ordering that a fresh election be conducted and taking so many other decisions. And I believe the candidates themselves know it and will be able to read the NBA constitution and be properly guided. But I'm only begging lawyers to unite. We are damaging the image of the profession. We are putting out as true facts, which as true things that are unverified, which are not true. We make wrong claims that only go to deepen the image of the profession and point our electoral process in a bad light. I think as lawyers, we should not say things we are not sure is true. For example, when people claim they got multiple OTPs and voted multiple times and have not gone to check the list of those who voted, which has been published, and to confirm that such assertions are not true. And many other assertions that I've heard this today in the last 48 hours that are not true. People have the right to complain, and there are genuine complaints out there. Some persons were unable to vote, no doubt. Their session timed out. We need to look at the technical aspect of it and why the timing out was much more difficult and why the voting process did not work on some browsers and work better on some browsers. There are some technical issues we need to deal with, but over the process, it is not flawless, but then the complaints, there are ways for dealing with them, and I think we should explore them and not embark on propaganda just for the sake of it.
Just to be clear, and I know that you had responded to Mr. SAN's, Lateef Akongbe's SAN's statement, but just to be clear, because there were valid concerns of some people who said that they couldn't vote, and I know that you said that you are not discounting that. What would you say to the lawyers themselves? What I'm asking is not about the candidates. The lawyers themselves who are aggrieved, because it says...
You keep asking this question. I'm not in a position to know what really happened. Okay. Until I know what really happened, I can't know whether their grievances are justified or not. Some persons timed out, some browsers have problems, network issues affected the election, and I don't want to jump to conclusion, and I've said it, we need to look at the report. But if persons genuinely tried to vote and couldn't vote, we need to find out why they could not vote. What were the problems? Did they activate DND on their phones and couldn't get the OTP? Because if I start speaking generally, it will be as if I have an idea as to why they couldn't vote. There are people who could not vote. And I said it was the insistence of two candidates that OTP should not be sent to emails, and we had to make concession so that to show transparency according to...
Fortunately, we seem to have connectivity issues with your audio stuff. I hope you can hear us.
Yeah, but I believe we've been able to establish the core of the conversation, really, and we are hoping to invite the parties that have been mentioned, the other parties in the election, the other candidates in the elections, and hear from them as well. And we do hope that this is something that can be sorted, because the NBA is a very important part of upholding even our democracy here in our country. The kind of things that Nigerians are complaining about in terms of our elections and the quality of our elections, we do not hope to see that reflected with the NBA, because when we then run to the lawyers, it is these lawyers, it is the NBA, the judiciary, that will then be the one to determine what the actual position is with regards to the quality of our elections. And so we do hope that they can put house in order and we can see everything free, fair, and credible. But if you're watching and you're a lawyer, please let us know what your thoughts are regarding the elections. We're streaming live on YouTube. News Central TV Live. Did you participate in the elections? Were you able to vote? What are your thoughts? You can drop us a comment or Twitter to us. I believe we have Leonard SCN, Mazia Famosigwe with us. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We look forward to continue the conversation with other members of the bar, the candidates, as well as maybe the lawyers as well, who will be willing to join us. But congratulations to the NBA, and long live the NBA.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, away from that conversation, let's tell you that the Consumer Advocacy and Protection Association, alongside other public policy groups, have strongly criticized the federal government over the exclusion from the new Electricity Act Implementation Committee. The 9-member interagency panel, constituted by the Minister of Power, Joseph Tegbe, was given a 4-week mandate to drive the decentralization of Nigeria's electricity ecosystem. However, addressing journalists in Abuja, the national president of CAPA, Prince Okorie, says that leaving out consumer representations while heavily populating the committee with investors and distribution companies violates the fairness principles of the Electricity Act.
President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to know that these consumers are the electorates. The consumers are the electorates who will cast the votes. And where you treat consumers with disdain and encourage impunity and criminal extortion against consumers, it calls to question the ability of the government to protect the citizens. Is electricity insecurity in Nigeria? You cannot be talking of Boko Haram and you leave this one because this is blue-collar crime. It is blue-collar crime that is committed by highly placed people. And it is their network that is making this thing persist.
There is a committee set up by the Honorable Minister of Power that they have deliberately excluded the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission and also excluded the consumer advocacy groups. Because if you set up a committee to either amend the Electricity Act, the people who are mostly on the demand side, who are the consumer, their voices need to be heard so that regulation that will be churned out from them will be favorable even to the consumers.
Okay, all right. There you have the consumers also sharing and lending their voices. But we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, Breakfast Central will continue. Stay with us.
The presidency has suggested that foreign interests may be contributing to Nigeria's prolonged security challenges. Speaking on the podcast, Special Advisor to the President on Policy Communications, Daniel Bwala, cited a display of Russian flags during the 2024 End Bad Governance protest and claims made by a U.S. congressman alleging that USAID funded Boko Haram and ISWAP, stressing that while he was not confirming the allegations, they underscore concerns about possible external influence in Nigeria's insecurity. While dismissing claims of widespread terrorist infiltration within the military as speculative, he acknowledged that isolated cases of collaboration by security personnel can occur.
His comments come days after troops of Operation Hadinkai announced the killing of an ISWAP cameraman in Borno State and the recovery of video materials reportedly revealing the presence of 3 foreign facilitators within the terrorist group, including a Palestinian identified as a trainer and a Moroccan serving as a medical doctor. Join us this morning to discuss this is Global Security Analyst and MD of the Breeze Protection Services Limited, Dr. Dixon Osaje. Well, welcome to you, Dr. Osaje, and thanks for joining us from Breakfast Central this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, Dr. Osaje, the presidency has pointed to possible foreign influence in Nigeria's insecurity, while the military reportedly, in recent times, reported foreign nationals allegedly working with some terrorist organizations. How credible is this, and should this be a cause of concern?
Thank you very much. I think it's a call for concern because truly there are foreign elements. Because I may recall sometimes in 2014, when some of my colleagues were attacked in Boko Haram and in the northeast, and some of the foreign fighters were also eliminated during the attack. And when they, take off their facial mask, they discovered that some of them are foreigners. So it's not today we've been saying foreigners are coming, to give international, expertise to our fighters, to give, medical aid to our fighters. To the terrorists, not to our fighters. I mean, to give foreign aid to the terrorists and as well medical aid to the terrorists, and as well, technological aid and, somewhat of technological applications. Some of this engagement, you see that there is there's a foreign expertise involved in this engagement, but that's not what we should be looking at. The presidency clearly come out to say, yes, truly, there are some foreign elements. I do not disagree. I agree with them, but we should start looking at the internal element as well, because we need to know how Boko Haram started, how ISWAP started in Nigeria, who were the founders. And to date, the Nigerian government has not seen it as a necessity to set up a board of inquiry to unravel the emergence of Boko Haram and to ensure that those who founded Boko Haram 15, 20, or 17 years ago are brought to book or are arrested and as well, brought to book, so that we'll start talking about foreign elements. If you don't treat the internal threats, the enemy within, pointed hands at the outsider threats will not do a lot. But I think it's enough worry, and we should see how we can, mitigate it and as well eliminate that foreign element, contribution to the terrorists within our country.
All right. Thank you very much for that response. Now, if we find that foreign actors are indeed facilitating terrorism, what does that say about Nigeria's border security? We often talk about how porous our borders are. What does it say about our intelligence capabilities and our regional cooperation? Where would you say are the biggest vulnerabilities, and how can these be realistically addressed?
Well, our biggest vulnerability is our borderline. A borderless nation is a no country. When your border is porous, then that tells you the people of the country are porous. And that's why most of these criminal elements, they are able to kidnap our people, take them within the borderline, and play around within the borderline area because they are well familiar with the borderline of the country. As at 2021, the Nigerian immigration notify the public that there are over 1,300 irregular routes. There are regular routes and there are irregular routes. The irregular routes are the porous areas where most of these criminal elements, smuggle their arms and ammunition without the knowledge of the Army, Navy, or Air Force, or even the immigration or customs. So for me, I think the borderline is the major problem. And no matter what we put in place to address the space of security bedeviling our country, if we do not address border security, it's just going to be a waste of time, because criminal elements take their shelter in your governable spaces. And if this governable spaces is not well curtailed, I tell you, there's going to be a problem. So for me, I think the only way we can, it's not possible, because the last time I heard the minister say that we can fence our borders. We cannot fence the national borders, our national borders. It's impossible. But what we can do, we can have a borderless fencing, where we have, unmanned drones and other technological equipment, carrying out surveillance activities within vulnerable areas, vulnerable borderline areas, then sending a signal to the command control center of would-be maybe the movement of terrorists or criminal element within this borderline area. So it's one of the major problems. They talk about regional cooperation. Yes, I agree. We have one or two regional cooperation from foreign countries. From the Sahel region, we have regional cooperation. But the challenge is this transnational terrorism is a very big threat, bedeviling even all these regional cooperation countries. So for we to get it right as a country, we need to stand, firm to see how we can protect our borderline areas to ensure that this criminal element does not capitalize on the vulnerable spaces or the governable spaces and make use of them in kidnapping and also attacking our government, our security forces. As a country, I will tell you the truth that we have a long way to go. And for international sponsorship, immediately Boko Haram, gained international momentum during the capture of the Chibok girls. Then we began to see international sponsorship from other foreign countries. We know them. We know where their sponsors are coming from. We know where the arms and ammunitions are coming from. But the challenge is the emergence of Boko Haram. I think is very important for the government to cry out and also see how they can pick these guys and bring them to justice, because what they started years ago is now bigger than them, and I think they are unable to control Boko Haram, and Boko Haram is taking leadership from their international terrorist organizations, sponsorship from international terrorist organizations, as well their motivation and the financial motivation and every other necessary applications and the equipment they needed to use to carry out their evil agenda against the Nigerian state. So it's a regrettable situation, and the threat is multidimensional, and we must address it in a multifaceted approach, be it human factors, technological factors, and as well our policies. We need to have an effective policies in place in which we implement these policies, and which tells us how we address these terrorist activities and criminal activities. Then we'll be ready to take out this criminal element. If we don't, I think in the next 100 years, we might be dealing with this situation.
Okay. I think you've spoken a lot. You highlighted the need for border fencing, not physical one, use of drones. These things have always been highlighted, but experts like yourself would say this costs money. So when you say they should get all of these things, where will the money come from? Even the budget that we get from the federal government for security is not enough. But before we touch on that, I mean, there's a proverb that says, before a rat will be able to invade your home, it's either one, there's a hole or there's a space, or secondly, there's someone inside inviting that particular rat. Have we looked internally into a possible partnership that's going on with these terrorists? And do you think Nigerian security agencies have done enough? Just this weekend, someone was caught. He was said to belong to the Nigerian army, but he was also a major contributor to the terrorists. What do you say about internally solving the issue, starting from the inside?
Well, starting from the insider threat, I think we need to make one or two persons a scapegoat. From the Army, Navy, Air Force, DSS, and other security agents, I, Dixon, strongly believe that this criminal element has infiltrated our security forces. And that's why most times when our soldiers are going on an attack, most times they get ambushed. And how did they get ambushed? Because there's an insider who has informed
this criminal element about their advancement or their advance to contact with the enemy or in contact with the enemy, because in the military it's all advance in contact and advance to contact. So for me, I strongly believe that what we need to start looking at is that we need to start, injecting a lot of intelligence network within this criminal element, within this insider threat between our country. When the American fighter pilot injected from his jets during the U.S.-Iran conflict, what happened? Someone in the U.S. government spilled out the information, and the U.S. government took it very seriously and said there was an insider who spilled out this information, because how did CNN get to know that someone injected and they now put the life of this officer at risk? So they took it very seriously. So we should start looking at insider threat as a thing of national security, and we should start looking at it as a thing of disaster. It's simply disaster, because once that internet threat is still there, I tell you, everything you do is going to be like a wasted effort. Many years ago, we've seen how some information is being discussed within the presidency get into the hands of this insider threat. So in the area of training, the Nigerian government should start looking how they, ensure they don't bring in even the repentant terrorists into our military system or security system. Because if they project these terrorists into the military system and the policing system, what you are doing is that you are killing the country, because once the terrorist is forever a terrorist, nothing, because it is an ideological driven mentality. So for me, I tell you, we should start looking at punishment mechanism, punitive measures to ensure that we fetch the insider out and make them scapegoats, so that will pass a message to others who are still lying low and sending information out to these terrorists. We've seen many officers caught selling arms and ammunition. We have also seen a soldier who left his base, taking a permission from his commander that is coming back, wants to go and get something, and went and led Boko Haram to come and attack his own formation. And he was killed in action. So a lot of things is going on wrong, and sometimes we need to start checking the cognitive factors. Is it lack of motivation or whatever the case may be? It's a long way to go, my brother.
But the question now is, when we hear about this fight against insecurity, government officials often speak of progress. We hear them say they're on top of it in the fight against insecurity. But many Nigerians still feel unsafe. So what objectives, what metrics should the public use to measure? I mean, every other day we're hearing story of this person kidnapped, that person is kidnapped, but then the government comes out to tell you that we're making progress. So what does progress really look like?
Progress looks like you and I living in a state of peace without being coerced or being intimidated by this criminal element by day, noon, or night, and in which you and I can move around without, being abused or kidnapped from the Nigerian territorial space. That's progress. But for me, when you go look into the protocol of Sir Robert Peel, the founder of modern-day policing in 1829, he said the best way to measure progress, policing progress, which has to do with the military, the army, navy, air force, the police, the DSS, the best way to measure them is the absence of crime. Are you with me? So for me, a lot of crime has been taking place in the country, and when you want to say you kill a lot of terrorists, you kill their fighters, you kill their commanders, that's not progress. Because if you think killing terrorists is a sign of victory, I disagree, because it's not a sign of victory. What you are just doing is that you are taking out their fighter, which implies that they are going to employ more fighters. The vulnerability is there. The employment methodology is very effective. They look at the vulnerable Nigerian people, go after them, employ them, and bring them to their system. So when you see how far the military has come since 2009, when Boko Haram started to date, you discover that we've killed a lot of their fighters, we've killed a lot of their commanders, but the threat is still there. So eliminating this threat is very essential. That's how we need to start looking at going after the terrorism financiers. How do they get their finances? And that's why in counter-terrorism, three things are very important. The resourcing is very important. Demoralizing these fighters is very important, and demotivating them is very essential. The resourcing is going after their financials, going after their arms and ammunition, their weaponry, cutting it off so that they will not be able to engage the Nigerian people. But yeah, what these guys usually do is that when they run out of resources, they tend to go to the vulnerable state, kidnap the Nigerian people, and start asking government for ransom. When they get this ransom, they go back and get their equipment. So there's no progress. So for you to get progress, ensure that you cut off every criminal opportunity and as well ensure that our territory are well protected. If you don't protect our territorial space effectively by having a high-powered intelligence, I think one of you talk about intelligence. Any country without intelligence is doomed to fail. And you must also ensure that you hack into their dark network to see what's operating and project a lot of fighters, that's the military fighters or policing fighters or intelligence, into their own network for them to get intelligence. But these guys has a very high-powered intelligence and they're using against us. So we need a counter-intelligence to counter their intelligence to ensure that we achieve the progress.
Now, Dr. Osage, finally, before we let you go, I mean, the buzzword in security circles now is state policing. What's your take on state policing and understanding the fact that different states have different financial strengths and also the political will to make it work? Will this be the silver bullet to end security issues in Nigeria? Because when you ask the presidency and members of this government, what are you doing about insecurity? They all echo the same chorus, state policing.
Fantastic question. And let me tell you the bitter truth. State policing will not end the spread of insecurity in Nigeria. If the Nigerian Army, Navy, Air Force, federal policing system cannot end the spread of insecurity, state policing will never end or bring about a solution. What state policing is going to do is just like a step in the right direction. Now, take note that in the criminal justice system, in the administration of criminal justice system, the police, the court, and the prison is made up of the administration of criminal justice system. So if you are looking at just state policing and thinking that it's going to solve this solution, solve this problem, it's a big fat lie. We're also not looking at the causative factors and the foundational factors of insecurity in our country. Because if you address it from the surface, what about the root causes? So if you don't go into the root causes, religious brutality, ethnocentric brutality, tribal brutality, and as well economic brutality, unemployment brutality, this country has been so brutalized from all perspectives and all angles. So state policing is a right step in the right direction. It's only going to mitigate in the area of response to crime or criminal activities, but it's not going to be the solution. Because when we talk about solution, it's never going to be the solution. The root cause analysis must be addressed from political perspective and as well from the societal perspective and as well from most of these brutalized issues I've just talked about. I don't want to repeat it. So I think we should start with state policing, then start looking at addressing the causative factors. You know, if we do that, then we'll be able to start bringing Nigeria to a state of peace. If not, state policing will just be like a bad husband bringing in a new wife.
Thank you so much. On that note, I want to say thank you, Dr. Osage, for speaking with us. Let's continue to look forward to a brighter day, like we'd always say. Hope is not a strategy, but of course we'll have hope that things will turn around for good. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on a Monday morning. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what you should know concerning business and more. Stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by Zenith Bank.
Welcome back. Nigeria's financial landscape is undergoing a rapid transformation as digital banking and cashless payments become part of everyday life. From mobile banking apps and USSD transfers to POS terminals, QR codes and digital wallets, millions of Nigerians now rely on technology to send, receive and manage money. While this shift has improved convenience and expanded financial access, it has also raised important questions about transaction costs, cybersecurity, infrastructure, financial inclusion, and the future of banking. Today, we explore the opportunities and challenges shaping Nigeria's digital payments ecosystem and what they mean for consumers, businesses, financial institutions, and the economy. Joining us for this conversation is finance consultant and principal partner at Woodridge & Scott Consulting, Mr. Segun Sokoto, joins us live in the studio. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Sokoto. Good to see you.
I think it's only right for me to start.
I see you in your Spanish red.
I was going to ask you.
It's only right for me to ask, where were you on the divide?
Viva la España.
Yeah. Oh.
Come on.
Oh, that's good.
Vamos.
How did he say that?
Vamos.
I don't remember now. But that's good. That's a good one. I thought you were a Messi fan, by the way. You know?
I am a Messi fan, but you know, I mean, I can choose to support a player but
and
not support
the
his country.
Yes.
How does that?
It's a free world.
Okay, we're talking business.
No binary. No binary.
Place my focus on the business.
Agency, man.
And that's very, very
They're not mutually exclusive.
Okay. Now let's start with journey towards cashlessness and financial inclusion. Yes. How would you rate Nigeria's journey towards a cashless economy? Have we made a lot of progress? There was a time they almost forced it down our throat. When late President Buhari did that, and Godwin Emefiele did their currency coloration. They just changed the colors. And I believe up to now, we're still using the same currency simultaneously.
Yeah.
One of the few countries in the world to do that. So how would you rate our journey so far?
You know, ironically, that incident you refer to, I think, was a catalyst. The cashless journey, electronic payments journey has started quite a while back, you know. I think the first time that the CBN rolled out this policy was like 2013 or 2014 or something like that, when we did the test run pilot cashless policy in Lagos, and then rolled it out to 6 further states, and then before it went national. Adoption, you know, was good, and we made very significant progress along the way. But I think that when the CBN and Emefiele, you know, for whatever their motives might have been at that time, pushed the currency redesign policy that then starved the economy of cash, what happened was adoption exploded.
But many people also had the businesses suffered.
Yes, absolutely. It was painful, and I think it was unnecessary. But I think there was some good out of that unfortunate evil, if you'd like to use that expression, in that before then, you know that right now, you can pay your vulcanizer with a transfer.
Yeah.
Pay. You can pay the market woman selling pepper, you know, meat, whatever. There's literally, I mean, people pay bus fares with transfers now. You know, I mean, it's crazy. You would, in fact, people buy things in traffic with transfer. Yeah. In traffic. You know, so adoption of electronic payments has become the norm. Before that policy, it wasn't so. You know, you would still find people who say, I don't have an account. You know, I bought suya last night. I paid with transfer, my suya man.
But you have some people who still argue that they don't want to have these digital wallets or transfer because they fear that they could be cheated of their hard-earned business or money. Where does that leave certain or such individuals? Are they moving ahead? How do you
convince them?
Or
what's going on with
it? It's a valid concern, but it's only as valid if you understand the ecosystem. It's only as valid as your concern for thieves, burglars coming into your house. You've got a key and you lock your door. When you are not at home, you must make sure your door is locked. Even when you're at home and you're inside and you want to go to bed, you lock your doors. You actually go check and make sure that your doors are locked. It's exactly the same with, you know, electronic payments and digital payments. Your passwords, your PIN, those two things, please, please, please do not share with anybody. I mean, you will not believe how easy it is to thwart fraudsters just by being careful with your authentication information. Just don't give your password to anybody and don't keep it somewhere where it can be easily accessed by third parties, and you're safe. You know, because encryption, because encryption technologies, you know, and all of that used by, you know, all of these platforms are top notch. You know, so unless you compromise yourself, it's very difficult to hack you.
They have different layers of security. I remember when I was single, I went on a date to a very expensive restaurant and I had to make a transfer. And that authentication and verification process cost me my relationship.
Wow.
I had to open my mouth, do like this, blink twice, nod twice to make the transfer. That girl left me, but I thank God because I found a better woman to marry.
Well, wow, what a story to make up for us. Okay, let's talk about the growing use of POS terminals across the country. During the period when this transition to, or this attempted transition to using a new currency emerged, the POS operators, after God, it was POS operators. Because
never forget.
Honestly,
how do I buy money?
Wait, sorry.
They've almost the same value of the money I want.
After God, it was field attendants and POS operators.
Honestly, it was terrible. Yeah. That period, we were paying exorbitant fees to get money. We were buying money to get money. Absolutely. It was the most ridiculous time. The bank couldn't give us money, so we had to rely on these POS operators. So let's talk about, you know, the growing, their impact so far. And what's the projection for them? How much longer are they going to last? You know, is that business line going to last?
I think that they're here to stay unless the CBN does something. And I say that because they are both at the same time good for the economy, but they are also, you would say, there are some sharp practices and unfair practices amongst the operators there. So that needs to be regulated. If you regulate properly, then it's absolutely fantastic for you to have as many touch points for access to the cash that you need when you need it. Because you can never have a cashless economy. It doesn't exist anywhere in the world. Not even in the most advanced economies where, maybe you say electronic payments and platforms are adopted heavily. You still have to pay with cash at some point for certain transactions. So the more easily cash is available when you need it, especially at the last mile of transactions, the better. The challenge I have is there's a lot of gamesmanship in the POS industry where you find that banks and bankers in particular, rather than the banks, they collaborate with these POS operators to starve ATMs of cash and thereby forcing people towards the POS operators who then take advantage of them. However, having said that, the CBN recently, with the recent changes in the ATM charges that the CBN implemented sometime, I think, mid last year or thereabouts, what I found very interesting is unless you are using your bank's ATM, you're actually better off going to a POS. Because the charge, I think it's
it's minimal.
Like 200 at the ATM. If it's not your bank that you are using, I think it's like 200 or 100 naira.
100 naira, yeah.
Then if you are using an ATM that is off-site, that is not in a banking premise, it's 500 naira.
Wow.
So, I mean, with that policy, I don't know why the CBN did that. Maybe to discourage banks from putting ATMs in outside locations, but that has now made, the POS operator,
it's counterproductive.
It's extremely counterproductive. So what they've done is they've pushed people to the POS, because I just compared the charges and I realized that the POS operator is a far better option, and they're everywhere. They're very convenient. So at the end of the day, I think if we manage the sharp practices and all of that, it's good for the economy. It helps financial inclusion. It helps access to payments, and all of that.
And it's also a business opportunity for
absolutely,
these people,
absolutely. So, I mean, you will not believe the number of people whose lives have been changed because they just sit at the bus stop and they can do, maybe 10,000 naira.
When we return from the break, we'll talk about those who don't use smartphones, who don't use iPhones. Oh, I should be giving them doing adverts. But we'll talk about that if they're also included in this financial inclusion journey. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're discussing financial inclusion and a cashless economy, our journey so far, and ways to better it. And we have in the studio Mr. Segun Shopito giving us analysis on this. Talking about financial inclusion and this digital economy, what happens to those who don't have smartphones? Because that's another level of technology that eases transactions and just makes life easy. Or have we improved the technology of smartphones that they're not so expensive anymore?
Nah, I mean, smartphones are still, I think, it's still a bit out of reach for certain cadre of society, right? So what our payment platform providers have done, and it must be said that Nigeria has been one of the most innovative ecosystems
in the world.
The options that we have for payments in Nigeria are just, some people can't even relate. In the US, in the UK, they can't relate.
So easy to pay, but to make the money, that's the
that's the problem. So what the payments platforms have done is to introduce the USSD payment options, where you just type star this hash something, and then you can do literally anything. You can make transfers, you can make payments, you can even withdraw cash. However, there are restrictions to the transaction volumes that you can do quite sensibly, because if somebody has access to your phone and you are careless with your PIN, then they can wipe your account in whatever the limit is in seconds, right? So, and that we've heard horror stories of that happening. So there's a bit of a limit, with the volume of transactions that you can do, but there's that option, and that means that even if you don't have a smartphone, you are not excluded, from electronic payments.
What about tap to pay? You've talked about the QSSR code, QR code rather. and USSR
wearables
payment.
and
I mean, at some point, we'll have to pay coming to Nigeria.
Oh, yes, it's already available, but it's still the adoption.
I'm not going to do it.
Up to pay.
Very. I mean, when you go to England, you want to make payments, you just need literally tap your card on.
That's abroad, but
no, it's available
as well.
It's available in Nigeria now, but it's
some banks,
certain restricted places.
Yeah, in certain restricted places. Yeah.
But do you see that as an advantage for us, or do you see that as
I honestly,
getting so lazy. That
I honestly don't see the value at the moment, at the level of evolution especially in economic activity that we are. I don't see the value. In other parts of the world, you are talking of swipe to pay, tap to pay. In other parts of the world, as we speak, there are automated payments where you don't tap, you don't do anything. Just go to the supermarket, pick up your goods, put it in the and just roll it out.
Some even
and as you are going out, yes, either based on a wearable technology or some other arrangement that they've got with you, as you are going out, you are charged. So the payments will get to the point where it's bio-identity based.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go on a break.
Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Oliver, don't worry. Rapid is coming anytime.
We'll be right back.
I know where you're going.
666 is giving Antichrist.
Welcome back. Well, we're looking at the payment platforms, most importantly, digital banking. Before the break, Benga was worried.
No. Our guest was talking about 666.
It was Olive that was worried.
Olive was worried.
Let's call it spade, please, my brother.
No, but great minds flock.
No, we are not great minds today. MD is still having issues.
Yes. Let's look at the informal sector and let's look at literacy. It seems like we still have a long way to go. You know the funniest thing, let's say it as it is. In this part of the world, particularly in Lagos, we seem to be very tech savvy to a certain degree. But someone will tell you that if you go as far as Ogbomosho, you go somewhere to Oriire, Oyo, all those areas, Kwara, you find out that these particular payment platforms that we use regularly are not used in those areas. So what do you think will be the projection for Nigeria to be able to achieve a complete digitized payment system or platforms being used?
I don't think that will ever happen.
Sir, that sounds like a curse.
No, it's not. It's just practical.
Because no mass, no network installed.
No, because just by the natural laws of nature. I think it's a scripture somewhere that says the poor, you will always have the poor with you.
True.
No matter what you do, there will be people that will be out of reach of the system. So what you will be trying to do is to get to a reasonable percentage of adoption and inclusion. And I think that we have done pretty well. I mean, in the space of about 4 years, the last time I checked the financial inclusion numbers, we were about 65%. We're on 79, roughly 80% of financial inclusion. Only 20% of Nigerians, according to the data, don't have access to some form of banking service or the other. Banking service.
And that's a huge achievement, looking at our population.
It's massive.
Yes.
It's massive. So obviously, that includes the rural communities that you speak about. So, and you'll be surprised that even at those rural levels, you'll be surprised that they are not as illiterate as we city dwellers tend to think about them. I think there's a bit of some sort of arrogance in how we look at things, and we just think that it's all about us. They're not as backward as we tend to think.
Absolutely.
So USSD, of course, they won't be doing tap and swipe and all of that, but absolutely USSD payments, POS, is available to a certain degree, but USSD, absolutely. But to think that we'll cover 100% of Nigeria.
That's almost impossible, right?
I think it never happened anywhere in the world.
I want us to talk about how affordable going cashless is for Nigeria. So now most people have to do transfers, most people have to do payments with their card. Every week, almost every day, I'm receiving bank charges. You're seeing, bank maintenance, these stamp duties. Stamp duty is the most annoying. You're seeing lots and lots of that right now. Would you say that it's more expensive now? Does the benefit far outweigh, the disadvantage?
What are those charges for exactly? Is it because my money is inside AC, is cooling its heels in their vault?
Some of it is just banks being smart. For example, I will never understand what the account maintenance charge is meant for. the CBN tried to outlaw, you know, we used to have COT, Commission on Turnover, right? And at a point, CBN outlawed it, and it was zero. Yeah, there was a period when you couldn't charge COT. And the banks came up with account maintenance charge, which when you calculate the rates, when you look at how they charge it, it's COT. They just brought it back, you know. So
through the back door.
Yeah, so the question is why? Why are you charging me? You've got my money, and you are trading with that money. You are not paying me interest, and you are still charging me for keeping it with you. And you will also then charge me when I withdraw it through some sort of transaction fee or the other. So some of those charges are, I think it's difficult to defend them, you know. However, having said that, okay, I also need to answer your question. So you have what they call them, SMS alert charges. You know, that again, the banks are making a lot of money off it. A lot of money. A lot. I know how much I pay. Yeah, they debit people's accounts.
But you can always go to the bank and deactivate.
You can try to deactivate, but they make it difficult. They make it difficult.
Yeah.
You have to go to the banking hall, and it's not everybody that can do that, you know. So there's all of that. But generally speaking, I think that when you look at the costs and the benefits far outweigh the costs. If you consider the option, the alternative would be to go to a banking hall. You know, then the odd 10 naira that you pay for transfer charges, you know, and all of that.
And the transportation to the banking hall with petrol prices
and your time.
We'll go on a last break, and then when we return, we'll wrap up this conversation. I have a question for Mr. Sokoto on the future of banking. If we're witnessing the end of brick and mortar banks or collaboration of some sort. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're looking at Nigeria's cashless economy and the future of digital payments. And joining us for this discussion is Mr. Segun Sokoto. Mr. Sokoto, before we wrap up, we've seen the birth and the rise of digital payment platforms in Nigeria. I mean, the profits, some of them are declaring is astronomical, and they're one of the biggest success stories coming out of Nigeria and Africa. And we've also seen traditional banks launch their digital banking apps and also some sort of fintech platforms. What does this mean for the future of cashless payments in Nigeria? And also, are we witnessing the slow death of brick and mortar banks, or we're going to see a hybrid? What's the future?
Yeah, so if you track the trajectory so far, the direction is clear. You will have an overwhelming dominance of electronic payments and therefore the digital platforms. For example, I was just looking at the numbers this morning, preparing for this show, and I encountered a number that I haven't thought about in a while. The volume of transactions that we processed as at first quarter 2026, electronic payments-wise, is 1 quadrillion naira.
I mean, we've moved from trillions to quadrillions.
That kind of blew my mind. Like, wow, we're doing multiples of our GDP in payments, and that's fantastic. It means that the velocity of money is picking up. We're doing transactions per time much faster, which is fantastic for the economy. So we're definitely headed in the right direction. Will we see brick and mortar banks disappear? Nah, it's never going to happen. There are some transactions you can't do online. You know, for certain levels of business, you must go to the banking hall and sit across the table from your account officer. Yeah. You know, and for certain the types of services, you know, so we will never really see. Well, let me not say never. You know, you never can tell with technology. You know, so let me not say never, but it's extremely unlikely, at least in the immediate future, that you will see complete eradication of brick and mortar. But what you will have for sure is digital platforms, electronic payment systems, you know, and all of that, taking the lion's share of transaction processing within the economy.
Interesting conversations. Thank you so much for being here and joining us to shed more light on Nigeria's digital banking systems. We hope that as time goes on, the swipe and the tap to pay will also...
Or blink twice.
Or blink, yes. Bio-identity-based payment.
Based payment, yes.
Absolutely, that's all it does not want.
Oh, bio-identity.
Yes, you'll be yawning anyhow.
Retina, thumbprint.
Fingerprints, even your biosignature, you just
So that means if they kidnap somebody now, in the process of kidnapping, you can't even say, I'm not with my phone,
no.
Just by being there. What's the money is gone.
They will swipe your hand or your eye.
There has to be something you need to do.
No, by that time, kidnapping will be a thing of the past.
Yes.
State police is coming.
Exactly, and Senator Onweboyin has said that by 2031, the current administration will have defeated insecurity.
Okay.
Let's move.
Thank you so much for being here.
You guys are being sarcastic.
No. These are the things that they've said.
Because we are not related to Bukayo Saka.
And we don't live in Sakatinumbu.
Oh
Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much for coming.
This segment was brought to you by Zenith Bank.
A major day in British politics begins in Downing Street, where the UK is preparing for another change of Prime Minister. Keir Starmer is spending his final hours in office after announcing his resignation, with a formal statement expected outside number 10 Downing Street this morning. His successor, Andy Burnham, is due to arrive at Downing Street around lunchtime, marking the start of a new chapter for Labour and for the country. Our senior international correspondent, Ifya Hagan, is live for us outside Downing Street. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is carefully choreographed handover, but it's also a politically dramatic one. So what would you say are we to expect to happen today?
Absolutely right. This is a very carefully choreographed morning here in Westminster at Downing Street. So what we can expect is Sir Keir Starmer, the outgoing Prime Minister, will give a statement here just after 11 o'clock. We're thinking around 11:15. He will focus probably on what he's done over the past 2 years and also look forward to his successor, of course, who is Andy Burnham. Sir Keir Starmer will then leave. He will walk down Downing Street. Behind me, will probably be clapped out by his civil servants. At the same time, just after that happens, Andy Burnham will go to see King Charles III at Buckingham Palace. There will be what's called the kissing hand ceremony. Now, they don't actually kiss hands, but that's when Andy Burnham will present himself to King Charles III and basically say, I am here to form a government. King Charles will agree. And then Andy Burnham will come back here to Downing Street. He'll walk up Downing Street behind me and he will take his turn to give a speech outside number 10 Downing Street. That should happen just after 12:30. Then Andy Burnham is our new Prime Minister. Now, in his speech today, we can expect him to talk about what he's going to do for the United Kingdom going forward. He's going to give Britain breathing space and renew hope. He's also going to say that he's acutely conscious that he is the 6th person to walk up Downing Street in just 10 years, and arguing that this unprecedented turnover in national leadership underlines the need for more stable and responsible politics. So we've, in a decade, or just over a decade, we've had 7 prime ministers. If you count just under a decade, he will be the 6th. So it has been hugely traumatic, I think, for the United Kingdom. These moments are historic, but they are also happening more and more frequently, and Andy Burnham is very much aware of that.
It's unprecedented indeed, Afia. From your vantage point, I can see the door of number 10, and I can tell that it's not a revolving door. But how significant is this moment for Sir Keir Starmer, personally and politically, given he won such a large majority and is now leaving?
It's a hugely significant moment for Sir Keir Starmer, because just 2 years ago, as you so rightly said, he took Labour from 14 years in opposition, from an election in 2019 where Labour were absolutely decimated, to 2024 where they had a huge majority. And just 2 years later, he was effectively ousted by his own party. Now, there's many conversations and things we can say about what's the reason why Sir Keir Starmer is going. Is it because of the local election results? Is it because of him consistently he U-turning on policy, or was it in fact Peter Mandelson and the Epstein files that brought him down? There's so many lines of inquiry and conversation we can go at when it comes to that. But like you said, politically and personally, this is a huge day for Zacchaeus Starmer. Personally, he has gone through some quite rough times in office. He had his home firebombed, his brother died of cancer, and so it has been a tumultuous time for him. And when he gave his resignation speech, he was quite emotional at the end. He talked about his wife Vic and his children and looking forward to spending more time with them. We know that he's hugely disappointed to be leaving at this time. He feels that there's more that he could have done for the United Kingdom, but politically and personally, his time is over at Downing Street, and this is a crossroads for him.
So what kind of tone do we expect from Starmer's final statement? Should we expect an apology, defense of his record, or an attempt to frame this as a smooth Labour transition?
We can absolutely expect Zacchaeus Starmer to defend his record. He's going to reiterate how well he has done on the NHS by bringing down NHS waiting times. He's going to reiterate that he's cracked down on immigration. He's going to talk about the Hillsborough Law that was passed just last week. He will absolutely focus on the good that he has done in his time in office, and also on that huge Labour victory back in 2024. Yes, he is the outgoing Prime Minister, but he's the outgoing Labour Prime Minister, and like I said, brought Labour back into power after 14 years of opposition. He will not apologise for anything he has done, and it will be all about him reflecting on the good that he did in the past 2 years, and that he's handing it over to a successor. There will be no apologies, but it will definitely be him, kind of giving us a good report card on what he's done, or what he did do in his time in office.
As you speak, I remember the clip of Kemi Badenoch giving that emotional tribute to Keir Starmer. Quite an emotional one there. But let's see how things turn out. Andy Burnham enters Downing Street. He hasn't won a general election as Labour leader. How much of a legitimacy question will follow him from day one?
Oh, that legitimacy question is going to follow him immediately. Look, Reform UK have called for a general election. We cannot expect that to happen till at least 2028 or 2029. It's less of a political question, it's more of a constitutional one. And constitutionally, this is allowed because the UK, when we go to vote, we vote for MPs in our different constituencies, not necessarily the Prime Minister. So if we vote for Labour MPs, and it's mostly Labour MPs that are in Parliament, and then they choose their leader. So when a PM resigns, you can have another Prime Minister from that same party without having a general election. But legitimacy, that is a real question. Look, the country voted for Starmer's Labour and not Burnham's Labour, which is a lot of what a lot of people are saying. That's the line that a lot of people are going with. Look, we had Labour Party manifestos and promises under Zacchaeus Starmer. Andy Burnham might come in and decide to do something different. Now, we do know that he said that he's going to stick to Labour's manifesto promises, but we also know that he knows there's a lot to be done in the United Kingdom, and that perhaps he has to look at raising taxes, or perhaps he has to look at changing different policies so that he can give Britain that breathing space that he has talked about.
All right. Thank you so much, senior international correspondent Efia Hagen, for giving us the updates. I'm sure at the 12 report, which we'll hold definitely today, make sure you tune in. You'd find out that more information will definitely come out from where you are. But thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Let's move on now and tell you that a devastating windstorm has actually left a trail of destruction across several communities in Jigawa State, bringing down more than 2,500 houses and displacing thousands of residents. The disaster has destroyed homes, damaged public infrastructure, and actually left many families in urgent need of assistance. Our correspondent, Stephen Enoch, joins us live from one of the communities where the windstorm has actually wreaked havoc in Jigawa State. Stephen, thank you so much for being here this morning. Now, kindly take us through what is going on where you are.
All right. So I'm in Masara community in Dutse local government area. And of course, Dutse is the capital of Jigawa state. So I came to this community and I've spoken with residents. I've seen for myself. The windstorm has wreaked havoc on so many infrastructures. We have people's houses, schools, and so many things. So in this community, before coming here, I was told that in Dutse, it's 200 houses that have been affected, either the roofs blown off or the houses collapsed. But in this community alone, I was being told that more than 50 houses have been collapsed, and more than 100 people have lost their homes or source of livelihoods. And as I'm speaking to you at the moment, the people whose houses have collapsed, they're staying in borrowed houses. I'm sure it's not something you're very familiar with. Here in the north, people who have goodwill normally give out their houses. People can stay there free of charge pending when they're able to recover. So as you can see, this particular house there has gone off. The roof has gone off. And then as you can see, just close to me here, let me take it through. You can see this used to be where people lived. And as you can see, it's all the roof blown off. Most parts collapsed. Even the tree that used to be here before, this tree has collapsed, as been uprooted by the windstorm, and part of it has been cut for firewood or other purposes. So I'm being joined by the representative of this community's head, and he would speak to me, Baba. Taso. We'll talk about how it has affected them and if they've gotten any relief from the government or not. So, Baba, Sunanka. Okay, so me ya faru a nan kuma ya wannan iska ya kawo matsaloli a wannan gari.
To, sai da wakili, ni ne wakili ko dake bangaren dan masara.
Yawa.
Dagaci na a wani Muhammad yake dagaci na. Ni kuma ni ne mataimakin sa.
To, ga mana yanda wannan iska ya.
Wannan iska ta samu a ruwan da aka kwanakin baya. Dakuna da wanda suka je kadda wanda suka yaye sama sun ga sama da 50. Sama da 50 ne suka yaye. Muna roƙon gwamnatin jiha da ta ƙaramar hukuma da ta tarayya. Muna roƙon a kawo mana tallafi.
So cewa har yanzu tallafin bai kai nan ba.
Har yanzu tallafin mai bai kawo mana nan ba.
To yanzu ya kuna fama da shi.
Ke fama kowa ne yake so yake kan abin da yake gyara.
Okay.
Yawwa. Dan abin da yake tawaka da kai da kanka ko kama akwai da kai.
Stephen. Okay, our correspondent there, Stephen, speaking to residents who have been affected by the havoc there in Jigawa State. But let's come back home. We'll come back to you, Stephen. Let's come back home now, especially to Lagos. Victor Mbadike is another correspondent who's out there live. And we are also looking at Ni Omoni, who's joining us too. They're looking at one particular issue, particularly waste management in Lagos. We had thought that this was done and over. The commissioner was here to speak with us. But Ni, you're joining us now live. Can you quickly share with us what the latest situation really is?
Yeah, Joe, I'm currently at Chief Obansa Daudo area of Obawale around Ogba, and what you can see beside me here, this is not a makeshift depot for Olusosu dump site. No, this is the front of a residential area. Even despite having 3 waste disposal bin here, you can see the front of the residential area littered with heap of trash. And if you even look down into the drainage, just you can see lower here, it is also filled up with baby diapers, a lot of waste you can think of that has been, brought out from various residential area. This is the reality of the people on this street. And it's not just been 1 month, it's not just been 2 months, it's been sometimes over 2 months that this thing has been here. And that is the reality you can see also behind me here, but because a lot of them have been making calls and trying to, get the operators to respond and come and pick up their trash. I'd like to quickly just in 30 seconds, okay, in 30 seconds, let's just get the updates. What has been going on? What have been updated? Yes.
For more than 2 months now, or more than 2 months, let me not exaggerate. Right. We've not seen them. Meanwhile, we've been paying, bills keep coming. Okay. We've gone to their office, we've written several times, but no action, no positive action.
No positive action.
Most of the times I saw the driver, one of the times, he said that most of their trucks are faulty.
All right.
That they don't have enough trucks. Yes.
All right. Because of our time, I'd like to just keep it there. Well, you've heard from them. We'll still keep going to more areas to get information as to why their trash has not been picked up. But this is the report from Ogba for now.
Okay. All right. That's needed there. Let's go to Victor. Victor Badike. Victor, can you shed more light on where you are and the situation currently?
Well, I'm currently at Ikorodu Garage, the roundabout, the popular roundabout here at Ikorodu. First of all, we've been to places like all the way from Sele, Idiroko, and I've noticed that, well, it's not really a bad situation, except for the fact that a lot of residents are waiting for Loma to come pick up their waste. So you have situations where their drums are filled up, and in some cases you have situations where, because their drums are filled up and they don't know where to put their, their waste, some of them have to resort to, putting their waste into makeshift canals or makeshift drainages. The implication of that is basically once there is a heavy rainfall, the rains, pushes out these, deaths or this waste and then eventually causes flooding. Now, all the way from that place down to Sabu, I noticed there's been a lot of improvement. Perhaps in the last couple of days, Loma may have been doing something, clean up the environment. Sabu, for instance, is notorious for being dirty. But fortunately this morning, that's not really the case, even though they can improve on that. So we would say that Sabu, a part of Ikorodu, is some kind of improving. Now, from Sabu downwards to Garage, where I'm currently at, you notice right on my left, there seems to be some pile of waste right on the BRT corridor. That's the bus rapid transit corridor. I mean, that's not something interesting to see. Even the BRT corridors are not, left in the conversation. Some of them are battling. I mean, the vehicles are battling with waste on the corridors, and that's a really sad situation. This speaks to some of the Loma officials, sweeping the road, and they said to us that in the next 1 hour or two, the debris, or rather, the deaths will be cleaned up. But the sad situation about this is that they said that even when it is cleaned up, by this time tomorrow, it's also, filled up again. So it boils down to the fact that the people themselves are also culpable in this matter. While they continue to, defy orders, instructions, I do think that Loma authorities should begin to take notice and maybe put up some sanctions. Otherwise, it might just be a round and round circle challenge.
All right.
While they keep putting up this on the roads, Loma keeps, continue to clean them
Victor,
up. The situation doesn't, go away immediately.
Absolutely.
Victor, thanks so much for that coverage, but we're currently out of time, and I'm sure we'll look into this more, especially in our subsequent programming and news bulletin. But that goes to show what the situation is.
That is really the situation. As we are holding the government to account, or as we are asking citizens to dispose of their refuse responsibly, we must also hold necessary bodies. Everybody play their part. We'll continue these conversations tomorrow. We do have some that will really pique your interest. But Jasiri comes up next. We are out of the studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
I'll also bring you newspaper headlines tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Okay, have a great day. Yeah. Ring bell for them now.
Thank you so much for joining.
And Viva España. God bless.